Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Hang on, my microphone was muted. Welcome back, Maverick family and new viewers from all over the world. The world is watching as usual, and we are appreciative of that. We have a great program lined up for you tonight. Some special guests coming on. We're going to speak with the Angry Scotian, who is going to give us kind of the inside scoop on what's going on with this Save the Children convoy that I know some of you have been hearing about. We've spoken about it a little bit over the past week or so, just touching on the subject matter, but new developments on that front and new details tonight, almost exclusively here on this program. So you'll be hearing about a lot of things first right here, and we're excited to learn about that with the Angry Scotian, Gordon. He'll be along shortly. We'll be joined later in the broadcast by Rose, who was on Parliament Hill during Canada Day. She's the lady who was there to raise that controversial First Nations flag. Well, I don't know if it's a First Nations flag, but it's Adrian the Realist's flag, and it has that swastika on it, and she'll explain why she was there to engage in that ceremony. And then we will also be joined by a gentleman who came along and lent his support to the ceremony as well, and he'll explain why he is also getting behind this flag, which, as I say, is somewhat controversial, and we've had discussions about it here, and you know where I kind of come down on the issue, and we're all about free speech. So we're going to give both Rose and Matt, who was at the ceremony, an opportunity to share their perspectives on it and their stories, their experiences over the Canada Day weekend with this issue. So stay with me. I'll be right back, and the Angry Scotian will join us and fill us in on what's going on with the Save the Children convoy.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Let's get right to it. Let's bring him in. Here he is, the Angry Scotian. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hey, Rick. Thanks for having me on. I'm good, thanks.
My pleasure. So the Angry Scotian, that's your handle, your your CB name, I guess, right?
Yeah,
So what's your real name? It's Gordon, right?
yeah, Gordon Berry.
Well, welcome to the program, sir. We're excited to have you because you have some information about this Save the Children convoy that we've been hearing about. Where do we stand with that? What's the plan?
Well, uh, save the children. So I'll start first. For people that don't know me, I'll let them know who I am, what I'm about, and some of the things that I've been doing this whole time. So right from the very beginning, um, all of this stuff that's been going on, I've been immersed in research and sharing information with people and videos, and obviously trying to get as many people to listen as I could. And like all of us, a lot of people didn't listen. At one point in the last election in Nova Scotia, I ran as a candidate with the Atlantica Party, not because I believe in politics, but I was hoping, if I managed to get elected, then I could bring transparency to the people and show them how these systems really work against us and not for us. Obviously, I'm here and I didn't get elected, and that's fine. I did do fairly well, but I moved on to that. So from there, I went to Ottawa as well and experienced that. And that was like crazy, loving, peaceful energy. But you could tell that whole thing was hijacked on purpose via the leadership, and the government had parts in play in that. And I think that was all led down to having them to invoke the Emergencies Act and giving them something that they could use to invoke that. Unfortunately, 90% of the people that were on the streets were there for the right reasons, and I think it got a lot bigger than they thought it would be. A lot of those people suffered and are still suffering from what's happened with that. But after that, I went to Manitoba 911 with Marcus Ray's thing. And the idea behind that was all these freedom groups and freedom individuals come to the table, put their issues on the table and concerns, whether it be violence or whatever they were thinking. And we could all come to some sort of a solution together that we could all get behind and move forward. Obviously, that didn't happen because the majority of the freedom groups and individuals didn't come. They chose rather to attack that, which I don't understand why they would do that. I wonder sometimes if they even really want to create change. So going home from that event with Marcus, bit frustrating, and realize that there's nobody out there that's our savior. We have to become our own saviors, and that's where we're at. We're all our own saviors. So when we can come together and realize that on an individual basis and all come together and stand together, then that's what changes everything. And that's what they don't want. That's why they've got us so distracted. So I always had this plan when I went back home that people are the ones that have the true power. And working on it with my partner back home, Iron Crow, and thinking and whatever. And then, of course, with the whole CBDC coming down the line and the dissolution of cash, it became like really, really pertinent that we get the ball rolling. So then I connected with some other people that I had met along these journeys, Wolverine being one of them, and Crazy Bear, and people out west and whatnot. So then we decided that we would go and try to wake people up and get them to understand. So taking the voice from the east to the strength of the west, and we met with a bunch of leaders in the west, and that's where the whole Save the Children convoy was born from. And everybody's on board. Everybody's on board with everything, with the plans and what we're up to. So the Save the Children convoy, lots of people that's really growing. The hashtag Save the Children, people can share that out. But yeah, so the public's really behind that now, as you can see with the whole movement in the schools with the trans agenda and all this stuff that's going on, and the parades and all this stuff that's happening. And it's trying to normalize not only it's nothing against the pride of those people, and they work to get their own, rights or what have you. It's the whole MAP agenda that's tied into that. MAP being minor attracted persons, and then forcing children to learn about all this sexual education well before they need to in schools, and parents aren't having choices. And so a lot of people are really starting to stand up, and we realize we have to save the children, and it's up to us. It's our responsibility. I have 4 children. I have 8 grandchildren. That's why we do what we do. So yeah, we built out the Save the Children Convoy, and some of the reason I want to get out in front of things in the public is some of the people that we've talked to that know about what we're doing, for whatever reason, they seem to want to do things on their own, not really connected with what we're doing, whether it's a separate convoy or different groups or whatever. And the whole point of what we're trying to accomplish is bring everybody together, no division. So that's why when we travel, Crazy Bear is French and Native, Iroquois warrior, Wolverine, he's English, Native, and I'm English. So we bring like the settlers and the French and the natives all together in this journey, and that's the reason we do that, to try to bring everybody and get them on the same page. So it's about unity, not about division at all. The only division, I guess, is the people that choose not to work with us and want to do something different for other reasons, which I don't quite comprehend.
Sorry, I was coughing, so I had to mute my microphone. So you're traveling and you're trying to get more people on board. I know there was a big event out in Alberta this past weekend where there were some discussions going on. Do you know what was going on with that, or were you tied in with that at all?
Yeah, Moose McDavid's out there, and I think you're talking about the whistle stop. He was out there, and he's spreading the word out there. He's one of the people that we've talked to. He's 100% on board. You know, like everything with Moose is like save the children, and we got to get stuff going. And you know, a lot of people are starting to recognize that the government is not in our favor. And so I try to make sure that people understand that when I say we have the power, I literally mean we have the power. All of their power is nothing more than an illusion. I've told people, I've debated with constitutional lawyers and these things before. The government doesn't have any power, literally have no power. If we don't have a legitimate sovereign nation, everything that they do is statutes and acts. We don't have a constitution. The Bill of Rights, the Charter of Rights, all these things are misleading people, and they kind of trap you into their legal system, in their corporate legal system. So once you realize all these things, you realize that it's just a big joke, and all it takes is for us to stand up, and we just take it back. We don't have to be, at some point, if we don't do something, then we're getting towards a civil war scenario. So I'd rather be proactive and then reactive, and we can avoid that. Everything that we do is peaceful. Everything that we talk about is peaceful, and they just don't have any authority. But it takes all of us, not all of us, because 80% of people will never have the ability to stand up to authority, regardless whether or not they have all the information or not. So there's 20% of us left, and a lot of people say we only need 3% or what have you, but that's where we're at. We're trying to wake up them wolves and lions and lionesses and get them all to stand. And some of the stuff that we do, we have to have in-person meetings, because obviously social media, you can't talk too much about too many things. Any kind of war that people ever look back at, I'm pretty sure the enemies don't tell the other enemies what their plans are, right down to a T. So that's why we travel the country and we do these in-person meetings.
So what can you tell us about this? You've got a convoy planned, and it's going to happen late summer, early fall, no specific date. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, because we're still in the process of doing the traveling and talking to people and having these in-person meetings and getting these people on board, and building it out. And we're learning. We're going to learn from the mistakes that were made in Ottawa too, right? A lot of the stuff that they did is going to be the same way that they react this time. So we're learning and we're strengthening things, and we look at it like, this is it. We're putting it all out there. Myself, Wolverine, Crazy Bear, like, we're sacrificing our whole entire summer to get this done, to talk to people, and every meeting we have, people are happy. People have been saying they've been waiting to hear. They're waiting for something, and they're all on board. Like in Quebec, a week or so ago that we get like a standing ovation, and that's not what we do this for. But people are really ready to do something, and we can bring peaceful solutions to the table. And obviously, that's the best for everybody.
So, what is the objective here?
At the end of the day, the objective is for us to stand up and take our power back and arrest these criminals in politics and everywhere. It gets obviously deeper in detail beyond the convoy, but that's some of the stuff that we talk about in the in-person meetings with people. And, you know, like I said, there's nothing violent about that, but that's where our power is. Honestly, that's where our power is. And people realize that, you know, even the police don't have any power. The courts, you know, it's all, everything out there is against us. Like, how many people in the last 3 years have seen the police help them, or the courts work for them, or the politicians? We've been playing in their battlefield, for lack of a better term, for for the whole 3 years, and different court cases going on. And you know, the police are beating people up and bullying people. You're still seeing it in Ottawa yesterday, and you're scanning little kids to get up on the hill. And you know, some of the stuff that's going on is ridiculous. So once people understand that they have the power and these people don't, we can just overwhelm them simply with numbers. Like, that's the legitimacy of it. You know, there's a couple 100,000 of them all together around this whole entire country, and there's how many millions of people in this country.
So, when this convoy happens, what's going to be different about this than other protests that we've seen so far? Why is this different?
Well, this is different. This is going to be way bigger to start with, and we're gonna create change from that. There's other parts and pieces that go along with that, and that's the stuff that we talk about in the in-person meetings and things like that. But that convoy is going to be massive. People are going to get behind it because, you know, it's Save the Children. We got the weather in our favor, so we don't have to deal with a lot of things. And you know, we can learn. If people can read between the lines a little bit, we can learn from a lot of the mistakes that we made in Ottawa, as far as supplies and how difficult it was, and some of the stuff that they did with fuel and all these kind of things. So we can do this the second run, I guess, for lack of a better term, way more prepared for all of those issues. Yeah, so we just got to get the people to understand that everything that they're living is an illusion. It's a lie. And unless they're willing to stand up, nothing's going to change. Because I know 100% sure, and I'm sure most people are starting to realize now, that the governments aren't going to do anything. The courts aren't going to do anything. This is way bigger than the people in this country, these puppet politicians or judges or what have you.
So can you elaborate? Well, first of all, tell me, what's the destination? Is it Ottawa? Because I was hearing it's Toronto, but fill us in.
Yeah, well, the destination is real. I guess it's going to be probably going to be Toronto. That was all kind of, we were figuring all that out and working things out. But I'm guessing now that a lot of people online are saying that the destination is going to be Toronto. And that's the thing with that. I guess the big thing is I want people to, so when there's other movements or other rallies or other groups taking place, this is what I'm trying to get across to people. We've talked to a lot of these people, and a lot of these people that are doing other things are doing other things. They've chosen to do other things. And I want to know, like, you know, why are they doing other things? Why can't we all come together? If we come with our hat in hand with a solution and a plan and want to work together, why do they want to go and do other things? That's the question I have in my head. People got to wonder that themselves, because I think if you have 2 or 3 different things going on, convoys or what have you, because I've heard about other convoys taking place and so on, I think that's confusing to people and they don't know what's happening.
So you've reached out, you've spoken to some other people who were engaging in sort of other plans or activities, and you're trying to bring them on board?
Yeah, well, that's the whole point of what we're trying to accomplish, is to bring everybody on board. Like, if all these people in this so-called freedom movement would come together and separate from their egos or whatever the case may be, we could end this very quickly. Like, there's so many simple ways we could end this whole thing, and we could have done this for a long time. People could have stopped going to work, and it would take a week, because literally without us going to work, everything collapses. People could stop paying taxes, and again, it's a short period of time. And then what do they do when that all happens? They don't have the ability to come round us all up, so to speak. But it's hard to get everybody aboard on that, because they're all afraid. They're all afraid because, oh, I have a mortgage to pay, or I have this payment, or whatever the case may be. They're not willing to sacrifice a little bit or risk a little bit. And at the end of the day, if we're not willing to risk, anything, then we're going to lose everything. So when you look at it in that light, are we really risking anything, or are we gaining everything? You know what I mean? Because they're taking everything from us. That's their plan. And they're doing it by 1,000 cuts, slow, incremental changes. And by doing it that way, people don't recognize. And by the time the majority of the people recognize, it's going to be too late. So, like, same with let's look at the dollar and the CBDC. If they take away the dollar and they introduce the CBDC, which is part of their plans. For all of us that have skirted this whole narrative this entire time, how are we supposed to function in the world? Because now we won't be able to buy supplies, we won't be able to buy fuel, we won't even be able to do convoys or protests or anything like that, because all the things that are necessary to make them things happen, we won't be able to access, because we're not signed into their digital identification system with their digital currencies and all of that stuff. So let alone our ability to fight back becoming crippled, our ability to survive is becoming crippled. So the whole point was to travel across the country and meet with everybody. And, it doesn't matter. And we've said this in different talks too. If people are on this for the right reason and they really want to create change, none of us really care about different mistakes people have made in the past, because that is the past. At this point in time, we all have to come together. And some of these people have big followings. I don't have a big following. I was never about that, which is part of the reason we reached out to you, and Wolverine reached out to you to help make this happen, but to get the word out on a broader scope. But, it doesn't matter to me if some people were grifting at in earlier parts of this, or any of these things, because this isn't about negativity. This is about rising above all that bullshit and trying to bring us all together on the same page to actually deal with this. So a convoy in and of itself is not what's going to create the change. But the convoy that we are building out is part of the solution, part of what we're doing. And like I said, due to social media and due to just, typical art of war per se, then some of that's why we have to travel and we have to do these in-person meetings, because some of the stuff we can't put out online, because we're not going to give them our game plan. That doesn't make any sense. All I can tell people is, and there's people that know, a lot of people now know, and they're completely on board with it when we talk to them. But we can't put it out online, because then they'll know the game plan, and then that works against us. So that's just common sense in any kind of a battlefield. And people have to realize now we are in a war, spiritual war, and the enemy, in truth, is our government and the corporations and the courts and the police. That's what we're against. So that's what this whole mission was about. So it does get a little bit frustrating, because we're sacrificing everything to make this happen. When we see people that find out about what we're doing and then they want to go do something separate. And I don't quite understand why we can't all come together on the same page.
So is this sort of a last stand of sorts, last chance?
Yeah, that's how I see it. I mean, if we wait and if we wait past this year, this fall, this winter, I think it's going to be too late. We know how fast the digital ID is coming. We know how fast this stuff's all coming. I actually hear that late, like mid-September-ish, that they're going to have more international meetings to fast track the CBDC with Klaus Schwab and all these unelected bureaucrats. You know what I mean? So if we wait beyond this year, I don't know how we can fight back, because if that happens, anybody just think about that for a minute. When you can't buy food or fuel because you're not signed into that system. I even used to think that you could, there's people that would be in the system that could help you, and they could supply you with things and stuff like that. But then when you add to the carbon credit situation and the carbon credit limits monthly for them to make their purchases, if they help you, then they're going to make their side short, and nobody's going to do that either.
So again, I guess maybe you're not in a position yet to reveal the details, but so you're going to have a convoy, but this one will be different because why? Because we've seen so many protests,
Right.
and they really haven't borne any fruit that I've seen of substance beyond what happened in Ottawa, where I think we got the government to back down quite a bit on these mandates and things. But
Really? You do
well,
you no, but honestly, and no offense, but
mhm.
you go to the hospitals and you see how they treat people about the masks or any of that stuff in the hospitals. You go to long-term care facilities and see how they treat people about that now.
Mhm.
And then you also look now in Nova Scotia and British Columbia, they're still not hiring back the healthcare workers that they let go.
Mhm.
So
I'm
have
not
you,
saying that all the problems are solved, but I'm just saying that I think that it did have some positive impact in that regard.
well, it could have maybe had a little bit of a positive impact, but
Mhm.
the convoy is a part of the play, and obviously, like I said, some of the stuff we can't talk about online because we're not going to divulge our plans, and that's because that's not good in that sense when you're in battle. But that's why we have the meetings, and that's why when we have the meetings, everything goes. This is growing. We have clan mothers and grandmothers are with us now. Uh, with the native population, bringing in the French, bringing the English. So now we're traveling down further east, and we've had meetings in Ontario, in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, British Columbia. We haven't got east yet, we didn't get east. I left from the east, but we wanted to make sure we had the strength of the west behind us before we went back east. So now we've got 3 big meetings lined up in the east coming up in the next week or so, bringing more people on board, and that this is going to make a difference, and that is going to make a difference. Things are going to be different, and one of the reasons they're going to be different is because we're not backing down no more. You know, in Ottawa, they did all these things, like they tricked everybody into backing down. They called out insurance companies to cancel insurance, so some of the truckers were pulling out because that's what was taking place. All these police, whether they were our police or police from other countries, nobody knows 100% for sure, but it doesn't look like they were from here. But anyway, then they were marching down people and on horses and doing all this stuff. That's not happening this time. We're not going to have that this time. We're not backing up. We're making sure that this happens, but it's through the power of the people. And there's lots of things they could have done different in Ottawa that they didn't. And if they really wanted Ottawa to succeed, then they could have done things different. And I believe 100% people can not like what I say, not agree with what I say, and that's fine. But Ottawa was great in the beginning, and the energy and the people on the streets were amazing. It was the most amazing energy that I felt my entire life. But it was hijacked by the politicians, and it was hijacked and meant to fail on purpose because of that. And I think the leadership is part of the reason why it failed. They're still, what happened with all the money that went into Ottawa and these truckers that never got paid. So all these lessons from Ottawa is what we're taking forward to this next stand. But the difference is we're not backing down. They're not pushing us away no more. It's our lives. It's our futures. When you look at it from the native side, and that's why we're all inclusive in this with Wolverine and Crazy Bear and the clan mothers and the grandmothers and all these things. The natives have this thing that they're supposed to protect 7 generations. So if we back down, we're all failing. And not only that, we're supposed to be the protectors of the land, and we watch them every day poison the land, the air, the poison in the waterways, doing all these things. So why are we going to stand by, and why are we going to worry about losing some little thing when the reality is we are going to lose everything? And you get the 15-minute city scenario, and that is a reservation for us, what the white people or the settlers or whatever you want to call it, and we can't let that stuff happen.
So again, I mean, I guess a lot of these details you can't really
I know, and that's
talk
really
about, right?
difficult. That's really a struggle. But people, I know that, and I wish I could talk more about it. But the truth is, like, one of the red flags with the convoy to Ottawa, to me, right away, was the fact that they were advertising it for a couple months before it even happened. So to me, that's a red flag, because that's not setting it up for success. And that's what I want people to understand. What we're doing is different. That's why we don't have dates to be, the dates are to be announced, and the people will know when things happen, and it will, because it's all going to be out there and everybody's going to know. They'll be waiting. And when that day comes, they'll know, and they'll be more than happy to jump on board. You know, if you just look at Ottawa, you have to understand why we have to be a little bit more cautious this time. And that's not the art of war. And we are in war. Like, if there's anybody out there that can tell me that we're not in a war, then that changes it. But the reality most of us understand is we are in a war.
So you say you have a solution. I mean, and I'm hearing about challenging the government. You see the government as the enemy, right? Are you able to share any more information on what the solution or the end game looks like?
Well, I
Without
mean,
giving away too much.
yeah. Well, the simpleness of it is we, the people, the ones that have all the power, we just stand together and take it back. That's it. They don't have any power, so we just stand together and take it back. And that's the solution. We, the people, are going to take the power back. So, you know, beyond that, all the little specific strategic details of that, you know, I don't talk too much about that until we're in the personal meetings, and then people understand and get it completely. And what I can tell you is it's not violent. I'm not about violence. I have no interest in that. I don't have any interest in getting anybody hurt, anything like that. So that's not what it is. It's peaceful. It's a real solution. Take the power back, because these people don't have power. The more people that realize, if they look at the political system and understand that the government isn't legitimate, you know, that's the truth. The Bill of Rights doesn't stand. You know, all those papers are benefiting them. The Charter of Rights in Section 32 says it applies to them in the Parliament. You know, if you look at the Little Child Act, that going through the court in 1990, where they took their MP to court, and what happened in that case? The judge decided, his decision was that the MP didn't have any accountability to the constituents. His accountability was to the Parliament. So what kind of system is that, where there's no accountability to the people? And the only recourse that the constituents had was to vote for somebody else in 4 more years or in the next election. So that's why these guys can run around like Pierre Poilievre, who's nothing more than a Trojan horse, Maxime Bernier, who I talked to personally when he was in Kingston, Nova Scotia. You know, these people can promise you the world and say whatever they want to say, but they don't have to ever follow through with any of that. So when people understand that the political system doesn't benefit us, obviously a lot of people are realizing now that the court system doesn't benefit us or protect us. And they obviously now see that the police doesn't benefit or protect us. You know, then what does that leave us? That leaves us nothing more than ourselves. So if we come together, then we can do this.
So you know, again, I'm having a little difficulty seeing where it ultimately ends up, but maybe you're just not in a position to give us specifics on what the government at the end of it all looks like.
That's going to have to be all built back out again. You know, via like a de jure. There's a couple different ways you can do things. First of all, I don't necessarily believe we need government to speak of, because government is basically to rule over people. And I know that's a reach for some people to grasp onto, but what I'm saying is we actually probably would be better served to have like a resource and infrastructure management systems in place. And when I say that, like, you know, when you have a CEO of your company that's doing a poor job, you don't have to wait until the next election. You just fire that individual and you replace them. You know, and I think within this whole freedom community, for lack of a better term, we have all kinds of people in this with skill sets and, you know, different professional capabilities, from accountants to, you know, lawyers, which lawyers are part of the problem, by the way. But, you know, all these people in the medical field, all these doctors that were censored and so on and so forth. Like we can manage everything. We have to rebuild everything to start with, because none of the systems actually serve the people. The hospitals are the best piece of evidence to show people that, because, you know, people aren't getting, you know, they're not getting services for various reasons, which we all know. So when you look at it on that light, and I know it's a big scope, but why are we willing to leave these systems in place when they don't serve us and benefit us anyway?
So there's a question. Do you have a plan for healthcare when you're done?
Yeah, well, that's it. These doctors that have been censored and everything like that, we have to restructure that. The pharmaceutical industry that's controlling everything has got to be dealt with, and you can't get rid of it right away completely, because now they've got so many people that are dependent on some of these medications, but they've never been in business to cure anybody. They're in business to create customers, right?
But are we talking like, and again, I mean, maybe we're just getting too specific here, but do you still want like a socialized free healthcare system, free medical care for everyone, or privatized, or is there something else that I'm not looking at here?
No, there's no reason we can't have a free healthcare system, and there's no reason we can't have a free healthcare system that everybody can access without issues. We have to get some of the issues out of the way. There's also, also getting this government, dealing with this government on a bigger scale. We can help deal with poverty in this country, because they're raping us on every level. And I'm not just talking about taxes. And you can go down into what some people don't understand in the common law scenario and the birth certificate frauds and all these things. And they're trading all of these pieces of identification in mutual funds markets, making money. When they do the debt clock and they have a personal number up there on the debt clock that's telling you, this is what each individual in the country, that's your number. Well, we're basically the chattel. That's what happens from the very day we were born. When that birth certificate took place, we become the chattel for the debt of this country. And we're all worth all kinds of money, but they've stolen it and hidden it, and they've traded it and all this other thing. So that's a whole nother big thing to deal with. But poverty doesn't have to be in existence. The healthcare system doesn't have to be run by the pharmaceutical. Look at what they're doing now. Look, just for an example, with this new bill that they're talking about passing, where they want to take all the natural healthcare products and put them under the same microscope as the pharmaceuticals, which we all know from recent history is under zero microscope. They're just passed because people are getting paid to let them go through, but now they're saying that they want to take that away from people too. And there's been a multiple amount of stores across this country, natural health food stores, or things that make people more healthy, not just food, and they're closing down. So they're shutting them down. So now they're going against all the natural health products, because they want the pharmaceutical company to be in control of everything. So
I see that.
You know what I mean? Like I know this seems huge to everybody, and I get that. But the bottom line is, if we don't take our power back, these people aren't going to fix anything for us. And it really is that.
What we're talking about here is, some people say they want to save Canada, but what you're really talking about here is dismantling it and rebuilding it from the ground up.
Yeah, in a sense, but things don't collapse. That's what people got to understand. Things don't collapse all of a sudden. Things still maintain things and all that kind of stuff. But we do have to tear it down and rebuild it. That's one of the things that's going on in society today. When you start recognizing all these things, in order to have a reset, they want this other reset that's going down this negative path where they have complete and total totalitarian control over every aspect of our lives. But the reset is okay, because if people realize this society doesn't benefit us at all, it doesn't benefit us on a soul level or spiritual level. People are out working 2 or 3 jobs, barely surviving. I know people in Nova Scotia, gainfully employed people in Nova Scotia, making $50,000 a year, can't find affordable living, so they become homeless, or they're living in a tent. There's carpenters in Nova Scotia that are building all these big projects and these big apartment buildings that are homeless, because of the cost of living is so ridiculous. And so once they get them to a certain level, sometimes they sneak and have a shower in the unit before they go home. Like, that's where we're going. So why do we want to fight to save these systems? Save the land, but it gets bigger than the land when you bring the natives involved too now, because now it becomes Turtle Island. And that's way bigger. And there's all kinds of stuff going on in the United States, and those guys are all willing to work with us, through Wolverine and all the connections that we make and things like that. So this is becoming a huge thing because we recognize, and I don't want it to get to the point like what's going on in France, because if we don't do something proper, then that's where we're going to end up being, and lives are going to be lost and people are going to be hurt. And that's actually what they want to happen. They want us to completely lose control, and they want us to go overboard like that. So then they can call in martial law, bring in all these UN troops, and just start friggin' if they have to kill people, then it doesn't matter to them. We don't have to go there. And also, if you look at France, they show that stuff, you know, with the censorship out there today, we wouldn't even see that if they didn't want us to see it. So they want us to see that because they're trying to incite violence on the people. They want us to get mad. That's why they do some of the stuff they do. They want us to be violent and freak out and go crazy. But if you look at what's going on in France with the mass immigration taking place in Europe right now, and a lot of the people in the streets in France are immigrants, I bet you 110% that that's a lot of that's Antifa driven and that kind of stuff, because it's going down the wrong path, burning buildings. That's not what we're talking about. That's not what we're talking about at all. We're just talking about taking the country back from the people and using the people, the strength of the people all together to do that.
So you think the Canadian public will get behind you and en masse show up and overwhelm the authorities?
They already are. They already are. That's the truth of it. I'm not on here like to, I mean, it's nice to get more of a broad spectrum, but they already are. Like, that's the thing. When we go to these meetings, people are on board 100%. That's why this whole Save the Children Convoy was born. That's where it came from us having meetings and talking. And that's all part of it. But so here's the question. Let's just look at Trudeau for an example. There's multiple treason charges that he could be up on. There's all kinds of things that he's done that's illegal, I say. And nobody has taken a stand. None of the systems that are supposed to protect the people have done anything. So if those systems that are in place aren't willing to do that, then why can the people not do that? And I understand that people have been so indoctrinated over the years to think, oh, well, these guys are the only, you know, I'm talking like, so what's wrong with citizens arrest and things like that? You know what I mean? And why are we worried about any of their legal crap now anyway? None of it's benefiting us. So I'm just trying to get people to look outside the box. So when I met with Maxime Bernier, giving him the benefit of the doubt, that's one of the questions I asked him. What would you do if you got in power in regards to having Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland arrested for treason? And his answer was that they have what they call a parliamentary investigation committee, and they would go to that committee and they would do the investigation. If they found enough evidence, then they would put that out to the RCMP. So now you're going to have the criminals investigate the criminals, and then you're going to put it out to a criminal organization that's bought and paid for by the government, which is called the RCMP, and you're going to expect to get results. That doesn't work, and it hasn't worked. You look at the SNC Lavalin scandal, you look at the We Charity scandal, you look at the Picton Farms, you look at Trudeau and the non-disclosure agreement with the underage kid that when he was teaching as a drama teacher. There's so many pieces of evidence out there. He should already be in jail if the systems work. So if the systems don't work, where does that leave us? There's no other option. It's up to us. And that's the message I'm trying to get to people. And I'm telling you, if I didn't have to travel all across the country and sacrifice my whole entire summer, like Wolverine is doing, like Crazy Bear is doing, and be able to still work on getting our lives on track and keeping ourselves in the lane, and we could do this over social media, we would obviously do that. It'd be so much easier for us as well. But the issue is we can't do that, because if you just think of common sense war, you can't put your whole plans on the table for everybody to know, because then they're gonna know what you're doing. That's not how it works. This government didn't do that to us. All these plans all these deals that they're signing goes all the way back to Harper, Mulrooney, all of them. They've been doing this stuff for a long time. They're not putting their plans on the table, and they're not giving us any transparency with anything. Right?
Okay. So Gordon, we have our other guests in the back room, in the back studio, and they're ready to come on here. So we should wrap things up. So Save the Children Convoy, big meeting out in Mirror, Alberta this over the weekend. Some of the details hammered out there. We still don't know, a lot of the details, because you're kind of playing your cards close to your chest. You are talking about mid to late summer, maybe early fall, sort of mid-August to early September. Destination likely Toronto, although it doesn't sound like that's cast in stone either. And we'll keep updating people here as information becomes available. We'll have you back on, and you can share the information as you feel it's appropriate to release it, I guess.
Yeah, I wish I could do it a better way. I wish I could tell you the whole package, because if you guys understood the whole package, you'd be 100% on board. But that's not how war works, and that's why we do the in-person meetings, and that's why we're traveling the country.
Okay. Well, listen, why don't we get you back on maybe in a week or so, because I know you're going to be doing some traveling and get kind of an update so we can keep people posted and they'll know sort of what's going on. And people, if they want to get involved, I guess they can start to make plans, right? And just tune in here or check out what do you have, a Facebook page or something? Or
yeah, people can connect with me on Facebook. I do lives on there too. It's Gordon James Barry Jr. Anyway, and a lot of people know, but anybody that wants to reach out, that we have a Save the Children Facebook page now, hashtag Save the Children, that Moose and his wife put together just the other day, so people can join that. When I do my lives, I share them in every group that I'm involved with, and I share information relating in every group that I'm involved with to keep the word out as much as possible. So,
and just kind of a final thing, why did you guys decide to go with the Save the Children theme and the Save the Children hashtag?
Because that's what it's about. Like I said, I have 4 children and 8 grandchildren. If we don't do something, they don't have a future. And particularly right now with what's going on in the education system and how they're attacking them with the whole trans agenda and that movement in all the schools. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of people protesting at different events and having drag shows that they're bringing children to. And, you know, the Toronto Pride Festival where they had naked dudes walking down the street in front of kids. Like, we have to save the children. And, you know, in order to, and like I said, in the very beginning, we're trying to reach the public. And so that's one way that we reach the public, and we reach them that way. And then they hear the rest of the message and then they understand, they get it, but it's up to us. And so that's what we're trying to bring to the table and get people on board with.
Okay. And we better wrap things up. Is there anything else you'd like to add or think that I might be missing?
No, I think we're good. I don't want to keep you long. I know you squeezed me in tonight, and that's okay. I appreciate that. Like I said, anybody reach out, just keep following hashtag Save the Children Facebook group, and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And before long, you're not going to have to look for it. It's going to show up everywhere.
Okay. Thank you, Gordon, the Angry Scotian, ladies and gentlemen. And we'll have Gordon back on in about a week and keep you posted right here on the Maverick News Channel. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, brother.
Have a great night.
You as well.
Okay, folks, don't go away. When we come back, we'll speak with Rose, who was on Parliament Hill for the raising of that flag with that controversial symbol on it. I'll be right back.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
I'm back, and joining us live now is Rose. Hello, Rose. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. You were there on Parliament Hill, and I think I still have a picture of it here. Let me bring it up. There's this flag that Adrian the Realist has created. Where are we here? Let me just, maybe I don't have it anymore. I thought we had a copy of it here.
I can flip my camera around, I think.
Yeah, sure. Let's take a look and see it that way.
I just have a paper copy, and I apologize because it was soaked in the rain. It's one of the first originals copied from the clan clan mother's own works. So that is the flag. And it was
Okay.
designed by more than just Adrian. There was insight and input from elders and clan mothers. And so, as bizarre as it sounds, we have all been bestowed the honor to be able to be a part of this experience. And we have been connected by not just earthly, I guess you'd say the earthly realm. I firmly believe that we're all here for a reason, and we've all been connected, and it all happened the way it did when it did happen for an exact reason. At some point in my life, I've never been quite sure on why I was even here. And I have no doubt in my mind now. And that's after several years of trying to heal from generational trauma. That was induced by systems and that was re-induced by these broken systems in which we all live in. I have found exactly why I'm here, and I'm not going to stop. And I know that the road ahead, as I have found out in the past few days, is probably going to be rather lonely. But I have myself, I have my children, and I have my family. I'm just a little old mom that grew up in Edmonton and has done nothing but activate change with every system that I've been surrounded with since the time I was 8 years old, and having to manipulate the system to have gloves put on my hands so I didn't lose my fingers. Because it takes months, while other children within the foster homes and group homes that have social workers that may be on the ball and able to sign things right away, it takes 3 people to sign a voucher. These systems are broken. These systems will never serve us the way we deserve to be served, and they need to be gone.
So those are large issues.
Very large issues
Yeah.
with really
And they come back to
deep-rooted
this
solutions.
yeah. So we come back to this flag, and there are actually 2 flags, right? There was the flag with the swastika with the 2 feathers in front of it. There's that one. And then can you show us the other one again briefly? What is this flag? What is it called?
This is the spiritual warfare flag. This is the Thunderbird spiritual warfare flag.
Okay.
I'm trying to hold it because as you see the difference, the swastika is on a straight. It's not on a 45. And as some of the people screamed at the top of their lungs while they were walking by as we raised the flag, this has to be truth. It's not on the 45. You know, I didn't know a lot about my history or where I come from, or even the foundation and the facade of this great country. It's not a country. The foundation is non-existent. There is no foundation. We've been living a facade for a very long time. And when I say that, I know that to be true because there are documentation, so many documents to prove this. And at the bottom line is when they can remove children from any parent the moment they are born, they don't have the authority or the right. Without any justifiable cause, they don't have any authority or right. They are taking our God-given rights and stomping all over them, sir. And at the end of the day, when you have professionals, I've served people across this country in various provinces, spoken in 3 different legislations, and as well went to the House of Commons. My name is written in Alberta legislation as part of the change that I created for children and youth in care that is still utilized today within the education system. When you believe that a system has the authority to ask for more control over whether it be material that our children learn in our education system when the principals aren't even aware of it, and our teachers don't have adequate child psychology to be giving this material out, or the added authority or control to manipulate words on an emergency contact form that now legally is a legal separation form. So you object and you feel that they feel that your child is not being supported adequately. It's one call to you. By the time you make it, and I live less than 20 blocks from the school, I wouldn't be able to pick up my child. And I'll tell you the material.
Where do you live? What city are you in?
I live in Ottawa, and I had to take my child out of school. Phoenix, I'm on the show. Don't be a silly boy. Okay? Can you go play with your sister? You got to go play with your sister, and then we'll look at a snack, okay? Okay, go ask Sissy to get it. Thank you. Okay, go get the freezy juice and shut the window, please, Nav. Thank you. Get what you need to get and close the window. Thank you. Sorry.
No issues. That's fine.
Well, I had to remove my child. She has special abilities, as I'd like to say, and she can be vulnerable when it comes to information that's sourced to her. When she came home and expressed to me what she had viewed, and then I saw an image of what she had viewed. As a mother and a social worker of almost 20 years, sir, I pulled my child immediately, and there was a complaint filed with the police department after meeting with the social worker of the school and the principal, who had no idea until he sat in the classroom where his two boys were and realized the material that was being taught. And that was the end of sex ed week for that school.
So the flag,
abuse, bottom line.
Yeah. So you took the flag to Parliament Hill. Tell us what happened on Canada Day.
Well, I'd like to refer to it as July 1st because it has...
because you don't believe that Canada is a legitimate country, that the government's not legitimate, right?
I used to have fond love for this country, but when ultimately they can make a midnight decision on February 28th of this year, and this has been verified by all three parties. I've spoken to them. All three parties verified it was a midnight decision this year that put our great-grandchildren into debt, and they can collect that debt from the children's portions while the parents are still alive. They have taken, and not just from me, but from other families, up to $20,000. My daughter is Indigenous and disabled. They took everything based on a student loan that I had left owing of $5,000. I have documentation and the math don't add up. And it's not just my family, it's others. So that led me to connect with people to begin building what I was going to originally build, which was a new federal political party, because I know these broken systems inside and out. And upon that journey, I was led to Adrian and other people that was actually able to connect me with the roots of who I am. See, I was taken from my mom when I was a child, and I lost everything, including my siblings. I have a sister that's missing today on the streets, and nobody cares to look for her. And I've spent a good chunk of time looking for her. She's still missing. So that led me to look even further because I realized that building a political party takes a lot of effort and a lot of knowledge. So I had to do further research than what I already have for knowledge, which is quite a bit. And upon searching that, I came into contact with more than just Adrian, but a clan of people. And upon checking with some of the social workers that I previously worked with, I was able to connect my lineage and find my roots. And over the past little while, after doing years of trauma counseling and various healing, I've come into my own, and I've discovered my roots, which has given me strength to stand for my children, because I now know my worth and the value of the systems in which my Indigenous people once lived in, and how harmonious they were able to live, and how everybody was equal and everybody would prosper, not just an individual, and that the children were always the utmost priority.
So yeah, and I don't mean to, you know, um, I want to listen to your story, but I'm also trying to kind of stay focused on a
So,
timeline here,
so
a
with
chronology. So what happened
meeting
on
these
Parliament Hill?
people, I was working on trying to come up with solutions following what Adrian was talking about and where we go from there. And that led me to an individual named Angel. Um, and she was able to introduce me to the Great Law of Peace, which was already within what I was building. And as crazy as this is going to sound, a lot of it came from my hopes, dreams, and desires of a better life. So within that system, the Great Law of Peace came about, and Adrian introduced me to the flag that the clan mothers had helped him come up with. And upon further discussion and meetings, we had come up with the fact that it had to be done with ceremony. The fact that this flag is an emotional warfare, um,
You mean spiritual warfare or
or
emotion?
spiritual warfare, my apologies, but we're all going through emotional trauma, which leads us back to our spirituality, because in order for us to heal our emotions, we have to connect with our spirituality. And so with this spiritual warfare flag and taking back the symbol, um, I believe that we will push people to stand in their integrity and own their truths, and with that will bring about change. So, upon having this ceremony the night before, we were actually all gathered in a quiet location that nobody knew about, and there was limited information given amongst the team on where we were even going to meet on Saturday morning. Due to our safety, because of that call that had been put out, and the fact that we were already threatened with being detained just over having a cultural ceremony. So, as we were doing prayer the night before and smudging, we watched the sky, and while second guessing myself, even during that ceremony, we looked up at the sky, and there was a thunderbird, the shape of a bird that flew literally as if you were, you know, the pages of those flip books that you would flip back and you would see the wings of something moving or an animal moving.
Yep.
That's what happened across the sky, across the moon that night while we were late night Friday night doing ceremony. And we all went our separate ways, prayed on it, and we're planning on getting up really early as to not create any hostility, because this is all for peace. This is all to bring about unity and peace. So we, after meeting with knowledge tellers and having knowledge keepers and having ceremony that night, we all decided to meet downtown Ottawa on Saturday morning. We chose the Confederacy Park because we weren't looking to do anything more than do our ceremony and then to have the flag risen. So we were going to follow the earthly laws that are in place, which we did, and we went in peace. Unfortunately, due to all sorts of circumstances, I was in the park for 3 hours with my husband by myself waiting for them. And just before leaving the park, when my phone died, I called Adrian, and I was second guessing a lot of things because there was lots of police activity and already a lot of army activity. And I know that there's a veterans memorial, but I was in hypersense mode, not knowing where everybody was. Maybe somebody got detained along the way because of the various threats. And I called Adrian and we prayed together. And I was almost in tears, ready to say, well, you know, like most of my life, I get to this point where I work really hard and things don't always work out the way I want them to. So I believe with everything in my power that, and within my every fiber of my being, that this is what needs to happen, because when this happens, we're not only declaring spiritual warfare, we're raising Mother Spirit from the earth. We're calling on our ancestors. This is no longer something that we are capable of fixing with not only the broken systems, but the fake systems we have in place. So with all of that on my shoulders, I told Adrian I'm not quite sure about this, and I was crying, and I left the park after carrying flags around on flagpoles rolled up. I was really exhausted and really at the end of my rope. So I walked back to my vehicle where I had it parked, and I passed the mission on the way. The mission in Ottawa is not exactly the place anybody wants to be, but that's where my heart is, to be honest. I've spent a long time helping people in this country that live in the vulnerable sector, and I sat there in the parking lot and I prayed myself while my phone charged, and I called Adrian back and I said, "You have to find out where they are. I'm not going home." And he's like, "Look, you don't have to do this." And I said, "Listen," I said, "we've had people that throw the Constitution down in front of the officers and challenge them, and they step on it, they stomp on it like it's nothing. We have elderly women getting trampled by horses. We have veterans being ripped off of war memorials." I said, "If anybody's bound to do this and see this through," I said, "you have to figure out a way to get a hold of them." And I told him where I'd be walking, that my husband had to go to work, but I knew that there were people in place to protect us. I just didn't know where they were placed. So I told him where I was walking, and it was up the street towards the Lord Elgin Hotel. And my husband dropped me off, and we said a prayer from the mission as we drove, and he had to go to work. He had no other choice. And as he let me out of the car, he told me to be safe, and if I felt unsafe, not to go through with it. So I walked around the corner in front of the Lord Elgin Hotel, and this man in a suit or a uniform, I only saw the backside of it, was standing there talking to my sister Angel. And I said, "There's my Angel." And he turned around. And I would not believe this if I had not lived it. But this man was a soldier. He was a veteran. And he started explaining to us how he was sent here. And upon asking further questions, we found out that he was sent by dreams, very vivid dreams for the past few months. And that he knew he was going to be in Ottawa for Canada or for July 1st, but he had no idea where he was going. So he was actually staying in the hotel across the street, and he asked to perform a smudging ceremony with us because that's what we were going to do. And before starting the smudging ceremony, he sort of asked why we were there, and he said that he had seen Angel in his dream. And then Angel started talking to him about the purpose on why we were there, and showed him a picture of the flag like I just did to you guys, with the information from the clan mothers. Just upon the sight of the flag, this gentleman started crying. And then he said, "I know what we have to do." And so we went forward with the smudging. And while we were smudging, Angel asked, "There's something wrong here. What aren't you telling us? Who are you? Where did you come from?" And he had taken off his beret, and we hadn't quite seen it when he had taken it off when he first came. And he picked it up off the monument, and he put it on his head. And he was a Jewish veteran. He says, "I know exactly why I'm here. Let's keep going. We're not done here." it chokes me up because I know how lonely this road is going to be ahead and how it's a trust fall from here on out. One of my adopted mothers is Jewish, and her family's just straight descendants from the Holocaust. So this man continued doing a smudge with us. And then my sister, because we're going to educate people before we raise this, my sister gave me the honor of reading the veteran and the people that were gathered around the monument the words of the clan mother. He continued with the smudge, and then he asked me to share a prayer with him, that he knew I had connection to this. So he read in his native tongue, and I read the English. And I'll tell you, Rick, there was not a dry eye anywhere around that memorial. We did the entire day, sir, with snipers on top of the hotel, various police activity in and around the park where we were located, and we knew we were targets. We didn't get the greatest reception at first. By even being there, people knew what we were there for. Once we started educating them. But by the time we were done conversations with individuals, they were walking away with their spirits lifted. And a few minutes after we were done the first smudge of the day, the Jewish vet went for a walk. And he said he would come right back. I don't know what he went to do, but he went for a walk. And when he came back, he looked at Angel and he said, "You don't have to worry. You're free to go wherever you want. I'll protect you." We had snipers on us all day. There was activity around the park. There was police. There were undercover officers. We had security all over that park as well. We had support from the CIB. We had support from regular individuals from all walks of life that were willing to be there and stand our ground peacefully. We finished the day with raising the Thunderbird flag. And right before this happened, a cloud passed in front of us over the skies above the Elgin Hotel. And my sister jumped right up. And we had been without our shoes all day because that's how you connect with Mother Earth. That's how you connect with Mother Spirit. And as we stood on that monument, thunder started so hard that the ground was literally shaking. I had never experienced a storm like this. What was to surpass after we lifted this flag was beyond anything I've ever experienced next to the birth of my children and my wedding. Completely sent me sideways. The clouds turned black. And this didn't just happen in Ottawa, where we got a tornado warning within minutes. But there was storms across our country that afternoon. The rain was so hard, it was bouncing off the ground. We proceeded to lift that flag. We had the entire lobby of the hotel across the street empty out into the carport and witness this. This veteran didn't bat an eye and didn't go anywhere. He actually stepped closer to the monument and wanted to be a part of it. He held onto the corner of it, dropped to his knees, and started crying.
Which monument are we talking about here? The Veterans Memorial?
The Indigenous
Oh.
and War Monument, the Veterans War Monument.
And just so I get a
Right
clearer
outside
picture.
of Confederacy Park across from Lord Elgin Hotel.
And how did you raise it? Was it on a flagpole, or what did you do?
No, we had two other flags on a flagpole. We also had the Big Bear Movement, which is going to be a part of the solutions we see in place to help heal our nation. And Every Child Matters, because we were both there for our children. And those are two movements we are very fond of and believe in strongly. And when we raised that flag, there was no doubt in my mind when we stood there for 3 minutes in silence and asked everybody to be in silence for what was taken from us and for those affected by everything, including the Jewish individuals that were affected by the Holocaust. But that wasn't our war. We didn't create that war. That wasn't ours. We fought to help defend our people, but that wasn't ours, you see. And the stuff that comes with it was stolen. It was absolutely stolen. So when we raised that flag and asked for 3 minutes of silence, and all you hear is people crying, and then at the end of the 3 minutes of silence, we proceeded to perform the ceremony and go around counterclockwise 3 times. And we had individuals I heard one individual yell, "Look, it must be the truth. It's not on the 45." I hadn't seen that individual all day, so he hadn't got any information from us or education on where that truth comes from. But the truth is, it was turned on a 45. It was made crooked, just like the spirit in which who took it. And this doesn't just represent this for us. There's other cultures, not just in our country, but around this world, that hold this symbol very sacred. And I know that unless we take a look in the mirror and change what we do as people and how we interact with every individual on this planet, and take into consideration that hurt people will continue hurting people, there's never going to be any change unless we take a trust fall and believe that generations before us already had systems in place to serve us. We're all worthy. We're all worthy.
So who was this Jewish person who just showed up out of nowhere?
He was a veteran. He was sent to us in his dreams. And like I told you earlier, Rick, you would not believe it unless you were there. But by the time we were walking away from that monument and everything on us was completely soaked, we were drenched, still carrying our shoes. We walked across the street with the 2 that we had on the flagpole, and we had put the Thunderbird away after the 3 of us prayed on it at the monument. Me, Angel, and the Jewish vet all prayed on the flag. We put it away and proceeded to walk towards Parliament with the other flags on the flagpole. By the time we made it up the street, there was water when we left the monument up to our calves. Like, it was that deep, and it had come down so hard and so fast. And by the time we hit the end of the next crosswalk, it was only up to our ankles. By the time we hit halfway up the next sidewalk, it was only on the bottom of our feet. And the clouds had so far parted, you would have never guessed there was just a storm that ushered in a tornado warning. And then we proceeded to walk up towards Parliament, and in front of where you would say Mama Bear, another Indigenous individual, was trampled by police when the emergency acts were invoked, just for standing there, just for being there. We raised it again there too, and not one individual stood there in disgust. Not one individual turned their children's eyes away. We spent an entire day unifying people from all walks of life and doing it peacefully and educating them on the fact that there is a solution to these broken systems. It's called the Great Law of Peace. And if we don't start believing in something for our children, they aren't going to have anything.
What
They
is the great,
probably won't
just
even be
in
here.
brief, what is the great law of peace?
The Great Law of Peace. I don't know how to tell you in a snapshot what it is, but it's very easily researched, and it's been held. It's been held near and dear to many societies and many clans for many years that were able to coexist harmlessly, that were able to allow the group to prosper, not just the individual, that held our children to the utmost regard, that held our earth as a high priority to care for. Mother Earth should always be protected. She's angry right now, and if people don't see that by our country being on fire, then we've really, really got to open our eyes. You know, water is being poisoned. Well, what's next? What's next? And how far are we willing to just not trust going above the grain? This hasn't worked for a very long time. And there has to be some trust, or it's never going to work.
So just to backtrack a bit, so you raised this flag at the monument, then you made your way up to Parliament Hill. Were you going to raise that flag any other place, or was that the only place that you were going to do it?
Well, we had plans, and that was the conversation had with the officers in Adrian, and they chose to come back and let us all know that even though that house sits on land that belongs to clans and clan mothers and people, that we would not be able to perform our ceremony on that property. And so
on Parliament Hill itself.
Absolutely. And so that is why sometimes you have to send a woman to do the job, because when we're asked to do something, we will follow suit and we will get the job done. I'm not disrespecting anybody. I appreciate and respect every movement that's come up to date, that has yelled into megaphones, that have made signs, that have fought their asses off to open up the doors and open up people's eyes and to prove to them that these people will never listen to us. They don't care. When you have someone that's willing to stand on land during a teleconference and look a man in the eye and say, that's all this red tape why you can't have clean water. Excuse me, but water is life, and you're standing on their land telling them they can't have clean water because of red tape. How about you get out of my way, give me a shovel, or let me write the proposal that's needed to send the funding to them so that they can build that well and have clean water. When you have every individual that stands at food banks while passing mile-long lineups, and it has the audacity not to send anything to them.
But
when you have, I have 1 second, please, 1 second,
sure.
Rick.
Okay.
And this is a PSA announcement for everybody in the government. This is not a threat. This is one person to another person. PSA, no fancy suits, no smooth talking smiles or tongues will save you from anything that's going to come if we don't get this right. And people that are bought off and don't have integrity to stand up for their people at the end of the day, and they have the ability to push the stop button on this and have had it all along, and all the opposition does is have the audacity to push back a liquor bill like we're a bunch of alcoholics who need medicating. How about you say that to the individuals instead of going to Crescent Beach and having this sob story or this melancholy music? How about you walk down the street and go get some staff training on Narcan so that you don't have to delegalize drugs? You can actually, instead of stepping over an individual during a lunch hour that's on video and passing by them like they don't exist, when they very well could be dying, not sleeping, you could know how to treat them. There's so many things that need to change, and there's got to be a trust fall sometime. And if you can't see it for yourself, please look at your babies, because I looked at my babies Saturday morning, prayed over them, walked out this door, and with all conviction inside of me, stood at gunpoint all day long with my sister and did this peacefully.
How many people went? How many flags did you have there?
We had 3 flags. There was one Thunderbird that was sent from the Clan Mothers in Adrian, the one I just showed you. And then we had the Big Bear Movement, which is actually a part of our solution and healing. We already have set out property to start a healing lodge, and it's the one of many that's going up in our nation. With traditional backgrounds, paperwork documentation already lined up, not just for proposals, but to actually structure the program. We're so ready for this change, and I really hope people can trust that we all have the best interest at heart. And at the end of the day, if you don't think that somebody doesn't want this for peace, I'll tell you this, Rick. My daughter was stripped of me while I complied. The system apologized to me when she returned home. After 18 years, she almost didn't make it home, sir. And the fact is that they fed her to a monster, and she lived in a house of horrors until she called me, pleading with me to come get her. And I'll tell you what, we stood for a retrial, and this man was proven not guilty. And in turn, I started a nonprofit organization. I helped start a nonprofit to help students or children. And we sent a petition to the House, a federal petition where it wasn't change.org. We pounded the pavements for 2 years during the pandemic while I was fighting the Alberta government, going back and forth to BC and Alberta on my own dime to make it happen and to stand by my daughter and to fight the system for her. They found him not guilty. And you know what the people in Parliament did? They kept the petition. Has anybody heard anything of it?
So again, I mean, I do want to hear your concerns, but people here really do want to know what happened, in totality on Parliament Hill, because it was a big day.
That was our day.
Okay. So you never actually got on to Parliament Hill itself. They wouldn't let you in?
We didn't try. See, we had no idea, but there was already a big rally going on there. And when you want change and the system asks you to give it to them peacefully, we handed it right back on the silver platter for them. Yeah. We went in exactly like was asked.
Did you try to go through the checkpoints? Did they confiscate anything? Did they confiscate any flags or anything like that?
No, see, the thing about unity and standing your ground and standing in your truth is you don't have to head out. You don't have to head out for a battle to win something.
No, I only ask because Adrian seemed to, and maybe I misunderstood him when I spoke to him.
We were on the cusp of Parliament. We were on Parliament property.
Because I thought you had some flags confiscated
in the gate.
He indicated there were about 30 flags that were confiscated. Maybe I misunderstood.
Yes, me and my sister, as far as we've been informed by everybody involved, we were one of the only ones that got up, maybe possibly the only one that got up. And they ask you to do something and you follow their earthly laws, things can happen. But the fact is that they don't care. And I'm going to keep saying it. And they've stompled all over the elders in our communities because some are bought. And the fact is that nothing's going to save us but people standing up, looking themselves in the mirror and standing together with their people.
Okay.
We're all the same. Yeah. We're all the same, cut from the same cloth, Rick. We can do this. Yeah. There is solution.
So we have Matt waiting in the back studio here, and I think you guys know each other. Let me just take a quick break. I need to push a couple of buttons here, and then when we come back, we'll add Matt to the conversation. We'll have both of you continue this on the other side of this, okay? Can you hang in there for a minute?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, hang on just a second. Here we go.
Absolutely.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I'm back, and I'm not sure which one is Rose, but there she is. She's back. And also
Matt
joining
is
us now
here.
is Matthew. Hello,
Hello,
sir.
how are you?
Hi,
I'm fine.
brother.
How are you? How are you? So I was listening to her a little bit. For me, it's a little bit of different story, you know,
Sure.
when you
So, yeah,
think
just
about,
let's understand, first of all,
yeah,
introduce yourself and explain how you tie into this story.
exactly. Okay. So that's what I was trying to do, like to
Yeah.
explain a little bit was where I come from. Because once you understand where I come from, you can understand why I'm here and why did I went and defend these sisters so nothing bad happens and everything went well, basically. I was born on 1st of July, first of all. So I'm a Canadian boy. I've been there. I've done that. I'm not proud of the country I'm living in right now, even if I was born on 1st of July. I wear my flag upside down. I'm sorry to say, but that's my philosophy about everything that's happening right now. When I was 16, I arrived home and quickly I'll just go. And I had this tattoo right here. Who's a ton? How can I make
Thunderbird?
it? Well, here we go.
Yeah, you got to do
like
it the
this.
opposite direction.
So you see, I got the Thunderbird tattoo right on my shoulders. Okay, but I never knew. My mom was freaking out. Why did you get that? Blah blah blah. And I'm like, I don't know. I absolutely don't know why, Mom, but I needed to get it. So leave it up to there. Fast forward to where we are today. Then 3 years ago, this pandemic arrived, and I didn't believe in it. Like, not that I didn't believe in it. I didn't believe it was too force, too obligation, too like you weren't free to take it or not take it, whatever. It was kind of forced. I'll cut you from eating, I'll cut you from this, and I'll cut you from that. So at that point, I was like, whoa, minute. And my son has a blood disease, okay? And it's his globules are not oval, they're round. So and anything he grabs, let's say a cold and things like this, hits him really, really more hard. So people say, oh, you're a completist, you're this, you're that, but at the end, I didn't trust it. It was my personal interior feeling about not trusting it. So me and my son, we didn't get it. We're quite fine, whatever, nothing happened. Thank you, God. I'll say this. But from there came the Freedom Convoy that arrived in Ottawa. I live in Ottawa, so I was right at the action 2 days before till the end. I walked, and maybe on the third, fourth, sixth day, I began meeting with Pat King, Freedom George, and that part of the convoy. And I'm so honored because these men has changed my life completely, upside down, flipped it around. They gave me a heart that I didn't have. They gave me values that I didn't have. To say to the population, be there for one another, care for one another, help one another, is all words of Pat King that he said on the stage. And I was so honored. I was crying. I was honored. I was like, oh my God, he grabbed all Canada. And I'm not saying it's only him, but he's a big part of all of this. He grabbed this big group, and he's a soldier from the land. He's not in the office doing paperwork. He's on the land. He's caring for people. He's like, okay, let's help him. Let's help the other guy. Let's help the other guy. So whatever happened at the convoy, it finished. And the last image I have of the convoy, this lady on her knees like this, saying, you want a hug? And this officer that has a wooden stick slaps her right in the face and says, move back. So we left the convoy, our hands between our two legs, like a little bit shocked and completely traumatized, because for us, it was not, we couldn't understand it. Why? We had no violence, no arrestation, no thing broken, not one single thing, except the first night where you had Terry Fox that are upside down, that we still food from the Shepherd of Goat, that never happened. The girl that parked on the dead, but not on the dead soldier tomb, but on the parking of the dead soldier tomb, and someone that danced on top of the soldier tomb. But again, that was the first night. On the first weekend, I mean. Then on Monday, we had veterans on there. We make sure Terry Fox was washed every day. At the end of the convoy, Terry Fox had so many flowers, it was incredible. But again, we didn't want to stay here. We didn't want to stay at the convoy and everything. We just wanted to have a discussion with the PM that never happened. So, and from that point, we never did. Till today, we never did. Why? Because we have a bad leadership, a terrible leadership to my eyes. He's destroying everything about the country to a point where, that's why this weekend, it was the last that we tried everything else. Okay, me, after the convoy, I've been part of Freedom Fighter Canada. What I'm honored, and they did some great jobs and things like this. Then I became a member of the Wellington Street Regular, because we're there every day, every night, and I thank each and single one of you. They were not there this weekend with me. Why? Because they were scared of certain things that can happen. But for me, I'm on the field like Pat King. My two boots are on the ground like Pat King. I don't work paperwork. I don't care about the publicity, the this, the that. I'm not doing this for this. I'm doing this for this. For the next generation, for the child that are terribly raised, for the child that are beaten, for the child that has to have manifestation in front of their school with two bunch of adults like this that jam one another and fight one another all the time. I'm fed up about this. I have nothing about the LGBTQ, but at the end, I have a big problem with two groups of adults fighting like this for a child that just needs to be respected. At the end, that's what I'm going to say about this. A couple of weeks ago, Adrian called me, because we were talking for a long time, me and Adrian, and he's like, Matt, I have to ask you a question, or would you be with me if we do this? At the beginning, I said, no. Hey, man, it's a swastika. Hey, whoa, slack the brake. Are you crazy? You're on another mindset. What kind of planet are you living on? Because I'm not for the hate man. Okay, I don't say his name because I hate him so much. It's a person that did terrible damage to this planet. But we have to understand the history of all this symbol. This symbol was not a flag at the beginning. It was kind of a thing that they did their own self. It was on a cow kind of thing, and it's been buried on top of a mountain so much that it's powerful. It's a powerful symbol. You have to understand that it has a power that I've never seen in my life. Okay, what she's telling is not even the word, like emphasize it by 20 about what she tells you, because this weekend I saw things that I never could believe if I didn't see it by my own eyes from the start to the end. From what I had at 16 to today is to our old bunch. So, because me, with freedom fighters and things like that, I respect them, but at the end, they're kind of getting up a little bit. They're exhausted. They've been manifesting for months and months and a year and a half, and we never gained nothing. And Wellington Street Regulars, same thing. They're there every day in front of the office of the Prime Minister. They're trying to say, whoa, where are we going with this? So the Declaration of Canadian Human Rights has never been respected for the past year and a half. Since the convoy, he's been not guilty of anything. He's been pushed away like it's clean hands, like no problem. At the end, I'm not a violent person at all. We never did violent because we know that violence doesn't end nothing with violence, aggression, confrontation. I just realized that it's not the way we have to do it. So Adrian told me, "Are you part of this?" I'm like, "No." Then he read me the clan mother's letter that explains every single aspect of that flag. When you read this and you really look at the flag, he has a big star into it. It's impossible to be related to the H guy because the star, he hated all stars. That man banished all star from any kind of dressing or anything like this.
And
Because
Rose, could you bring that picture of the flag back so people can see while he describes it again? Could you possibly do that for us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Because if you
1
look in the
minute, okay?
center of it,
Sure.
there's a star. And that's the most, why I went in, it's just, I study history in my classes at school and things like this, and symbols and things like this, but this is impossible to be belonging to this H guy, because there's a big star right in the center of it.
I have the clan mother's words too, if you haven't heard them, Rick.
No, I haven't. Is it? Yeah, I'd be very interested in hearing it.
It
Yeah, because
discusses
if you
all of
read
it,
that,
including the history.
my friend, it would be way better for people to understand what the symbol's all about. Because without understanding this letter, they cannot make their own mind on this subject. You see, right in the center of it, you have the star right there under the head. Go forward a little bit. Good. Stay there.
Here, I'll just isolate this.
Yeah. Just isolate this.
Sorry, I'm trying to make it straight, guys, because the picture is actually straight. But
No, but we see it that it's straight, Rose. We see it. Perfect.
I see the star.
You got it there. So right in the center, you got a star right there on top. And the swastika is the round around it. It's not round. It's kind of a shape that goes like this. So the round isn't a round. So again, you have to understand this symbol before the H guy was really a powerful kind of spiritual, kind of whatever you want to call it, but it gave a lot of power. When he saw this and he heard about this, he was a great believer in spirit and whatever. So he grabbed it. He says, "I'm going to grab it, but I cannot have the star." So he grabbed the star off. Then he made a couple. Then the Thunderbird was replaced by an eagle. Okay, it's not the same bird. It's not a Thunderbird. It's an eagle, the other one. So, and the swastika was put on the 45. Okay, but Rose, can you read this, please?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll just close my mic so I don't make any interference. I'll come back right after.
Yeah, it'll probably take a minute or two. But I do want to get the clan mother's words right, because for so many times they've been hushed, and I will read it word for word, and that'll settle for nothing less, because I respect them to the utmost. So, the Thunderbird flag, it holds great significance and meaning. It is not merely a flag, but a carefully crafted symbol that embodies our beliefs and values. The design of the Thunderbird flag is unique and powerful, as it is at the core is a circle that encases the swastika, which originates from the stars. This symbolizes the connection between the celestial realm and the earthly existence. Within this design, we incorporate the wisdom of the 7 grandfather teachings from the West and the 7 grandmother teachings from the East. These teachings represent the 7 fundamental laws that guide our conduct and interaction in the world. The house depicted above, the symbol, signifies the unity and morality. So there's a house at the top of the circle that encompasses the swastika. That's actually a house. The house depicted above signifies the unity and morality, reminding us of the importance of living harmoniously with one another. The star positioned above represents the North Star, a guiding light that lights us on the right path. Finally, the Thunderbird itself represents the spirit of truth, a powerful force that protects and enlightens us. It is essential to understand that this symbol, the Thunderbird flag, is an integral part of our heritage. It is not the same symbol that you fear or associate with negative connotation. Unfortunately, it was Okay, you guys, really, thank you. Unfortunately, it was misstood and misappropriated, leading to its perversion in our popular culture. We are reclaiming our sacred symbol, which holds deep meaning for us, and separation from the distorted interpretation that have caused harm. We express gratitude for the assistance we provided during World War II, and we recognize the immense sacrifices made by your veterans, and we honor their bravery and commitment. Our collaboration played a significant role in the successful outcome of the war, and we hold a special place in our hearts for your people. However, we cannot overlook the fact that the world continues to be plagued by conflicts and war. We hope that one day you will find the lasting peace and resolution, understanding to these endless struggles. It is our sincere desire that through understanding, respect, and cooperation, we can create a world where harmony and unity will prevail. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us and understand our perspectives. Let us strive to build bridges of a mutual respect, appreciation, fostering a future where our symbols and beliefs can coexist peacefully. With great honor, we extend an invitation to all nations to unify under a shared belief that peace could and should be the foundation of our collective existence. It is crucial to acknowledge the shortcomings and sins of our past, reclaim our identity as a nation, and strive towards a future guided by harmony and justice. Through the symbolization of this Thunderbird flag, we seek to reclaim the principles of natural law. We implore all nations to come together, setting aside all differences and grievances in order to pursue the great law of peace. This law should serve as a unifying force that transcends borders and brings us close as a global community. In these troubled times, it is imperative that we address pressing issues that affect the well-being of society, such as the protection of women and the prevention of sexualization of our children. By joining forces and working together collectively, we can create a safer, more equitable world for all. Failure to heed this call for unity and peace may result in dire consequences for all of us. Just as American Indians have faced and endured immense suffering, your people too many faces a similar fate. If we do not act swiftly and decisively, the choice is beyond clear. Either we come together in love or unity, or allow the spiritual warfare to escalate, leading to the destruction of all. We urge you to choose wisely, for the Thunderbird has arrived, representing both a chance for reconciliation and a warning of the perils that lie ahead. Let us embrace the opportunity to forge a path of understanding, compassion, and cooperation for the betterment of our shared future, with hope and determination.
So that's the full statement?
That's the full statement.
Can you hold that symbol up again one more time? I just want to see the star.
There you go. Now you can see the star. You can see everything. You can see. Here you go. You can see the star. You can see that it's a Thunderbird. It's not an eagle. And the sign is completely straight. It's not on a foot. You see, that's it. That's a different one. You see exactly.
So that's the one that you guys have, and this is the Nazi coat of arms.
That's a Nazi.
Yeah.
Do you see a star into this? Do you see anything like this?
The
There's
house.
3 wings. The other one has 4. This is an eagle. The round around the swastika is just not a round. It's a thing they put on the headlight thing that whatever I don't remember what's exactly the name, but again, okay.
So I'm
So
not
we
aware
can
of any
definitely
historical.
see
I mean,
that-
Matthew, I'm not aware of any historical references or documentation to indicate that Adolf Hitler had any particular aversion to stars. Where would I find this information?
by just look at at his outfit, just look at all the stars.
So-
The thing why he didn't like the stars was exactly because the Jew had their Jewish star, and that's why he didn't approve and didn't put that anywhere. Okay, it was always square, it was always symbol, but it was never a star because he didn't believe in it.
So
He didn't want it.
I mean, the swastika really comes from the stars because it's based on.
It is, but it's not the
constellations.
symbol. Like, a star, we can all say like a star, okay? I'm not saying he doesn't use the word stars into these things. I'm saying the symbol as a star is really hard to find in Hitler's outfit and things like this because he didn't like the stars because of the Jew, not because of the star and whatever the meaning of it all. Because at the end, he knew the power of this flag. But when he went and grabbed it and tried to copy it and transform it.
I mean, you had sorry, go ahead, Rose.
Sorry, there's actual documentation with pictures. Unfortunately, I'll have to direct you to Adrian to connect you with a knowledge keeper, and that's what keeps our knowledge sacred. I was bestowed this opportunity, and a lot of my history I didn't learn until I sought it out from a knowledge keeper. Mm-hmm. We all have roles, including the woman within a household, and that is why the men took a step back and allowed us to fulfill this one, because we have actual roles within our clans, and that's what has held our clans together for so long, what core we do have left. And so I'm sure that a knowledge keeper would love to have a conversation with you and relay that information to you and allow you to absorb that. I don't know how to give you that information online because it is very sacred, but there's actual pictures and documentation that shows him with an indigenous group of people and that symbol being removed from them.
How would you, I don't understand.
But Adrian would be better to teach you and to show you this, because this is so deep into the roots of the First Nation that the documentation that you would find of this would be so secretly
kept. Find it on Google.
It won't go on Google because at that time Google didn't exist.
Including the fact that the maple leaf was on the
they're gonna promote. But at the end, the swastika, okay, we all saw it, but we emphasize on the word right now and not really on what it does. When I say there's a great power into the behind of all of this, to a point where Rose has explained a little bit of things. But when I was there, I was really because I have to walk around. I had my Wellington Street regular. We were not in front of everybody. We were quite intimately in a place where we could have been, and we really didn't affect the city and the movement of Canada Day and all the people that were there to have fun and things like that. Right. Our goal was not to break up these people's fun. At the end, we were there to make a ceremony for ourselves. It was in front of the statue of the First Nation. It's all a wolf, a bear, a bison, and with their head and an eagle on top. And the eagle's wings are.
I have to ask.
Yeah.
Why do you guys think it was? And I know you guys weren't directly involved in the design of either flag or either symbol.
No.
But why does it have to be so similar to that Nazi coat of arms?
It's not similar to him. That's where you get it wrong. Is
no. I don't think so. I honestly don't think so because what we're really talking about here is the creation of a new flag
No, it's not a new
using.
toy.
No,
It's
it
an
was
old
already there.
symbol.
The
It's
piece
an
This
was
old,
was
already
an
there
actual
within our
flag
culture.
from the this was a flag.
It was
a flag.
flag and documentation and knowledge that have been
I mean,
kept by knowledge keepers
I
and
know that
clan
the
mothers that
swastika
were
was
put
used in the
together.
past, and I know that these symbols are used in the past as part of the culture, as cultural expression in artwork, in various ways. But as you just indicated, people got together to design this.
no, they
You
designed it,
you
yes,
told me
because it's on
earlier,
a piece
right?
of skin of a cow, and it was all at the time. It's bare. The
Well,
original one is
maybe
so
again,
powerful that they
maybe
buried it on top of a
maybe I
mountain.
misunderstood. Rose, you indicated to me, and Adrian had indicated in his previous interview as well, that I mean, this flag, he said he designed with this swastika.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. And then you said earlier that some people got together to design this new Thunderbird
Because the
flag as
image
well.
is not, when you have an image who's
Yeah.
40, 100 years old up to today, you have to elaborate a couple of lines, because it's not been made 100 years ago with a computer with a flag and things like. It was a picture that was that every aspect of the flag is more defined. It's more like, like,
so when you
it
say
goes,
so when you say that it was
they had
stolen,
to
was there
restructurize it, but they didn't change the lines really. They just straightened the lines everywhere and every aspect of it.
Okay.
But
so
it has exist before this image. This image has exist in the past, way before the H guy.
So that logo
recreated off of the artifacts.
Okay. So I mean, I'd be interested in seeing some of the original images to compare what we have. But I believe you.
So you asked why.
Yeah. So
you asked why. So I'm going to tell you, Rick, why I stood there with various people accusing me in the past of being a racist in the past few days leading up to Saturday, and having snipers on top of a roof, and how I would ever stand there and do this is because I know to the core of me, and I don't know if anybody else does, but I'm all about recovery. And recovery at the end of the day starts with truth. And there's a lot of people suffering, and not just Indigenous people, because of this lie. And so I will stand my ground when it comes to exposing truth that will lead to recovery. And I will take whatever comes with that. I always have, and I always will. And at the end of the day, nobody's willing to let go of the system that's here, and they're going to allow somebody to possibly get a win by default next election if we make it there. And at the end of the day, nobody in house, and I'll say this till the day I'm blue in the face, nobody in this house deserves any power. They've all had the ability to stop this, and our children are suffering at the end of the day. They have not changed the standards of care to remove your children, and they are removing children at a rapid speed.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and we've
Truth
covered
is the
that.
truth.
And we've covered this ground earlier in the conversation.
Yeah.
But
you have to understand, okay, Rick? I just want to say one thing. I said no for the one on the 45. I didn't really said yes at the beginning with the straight one.
Mm-hmm.
But
so I mean, Matthew, you therefore you see the controversial nature of this, right? You can understand why people get upset when they see it.
Yes, I understand. Right. But that's why we didn't go and put it on Parliament Hill, on Parliament Street, in front of his office. We didn't go there. We put it two places where it got open. One in front of their statue, and the other one is in front of the other statue, the Indian and it was really not. It was not there for hours, though. Okay, because our goal was not to offend the population. Like I always say, if you don't read the letter, and if you don't have the knowledge of that letter and what it means and what it represents, it can really be taken the bad way, as racist and as a crazy guy that happened a long time ago. Okay, I hate this guy. I don't approve of what that age guy did. I don't believe that anything about this. But what we're living today, though, we have to understand what's the situation right now in Canada. You have to understand that 2 weeks ago, one of the Wellington Street regular been dragged out of the courtroom without pants, half naked, out the courtroom. At the end, the other one is talking with me on the lives. He get arrested because he said the F word, and they dropped him off 5 street down on the side, no charge, no nothing. At the end, this police brutality, this quite nonsense in court. Okay. People get still. Mama Bear been stepped on by a horse, right. And still today his shoulder is not repaired. So we have to understand it happened a year and a half ago. You stepped on her and see with your horse. You're gonna say, "Oh, but it was for her not to be there." Listen, why wouldn't we have been there? We would have left. If the leadership would have
so Adrian's not here, but we did do a lengthy, about 2-hour interview the other night. So I just want to play a little clip of his, so that maybe you guys can elaborate on what he had to say. Hang on a second here. I don't want him to sound like a chipmunk like me, so we'll get the speed right. Here we go. I'm not sure where that goes. If we want to sever ties. He's talking about severing ties with the monarchy. Of some new kind of, and so many people, I think, in our circles are calling for the creation of a new system, some sort of a republic rather than a dominion. What are we talking about here?
Well, obviously, if you know anything about political science, and I think you do, at one time, dictatorship used to be a great thing until it got slandered. At one time, communism used to be a great thing until it got corrupted. So as socialism, is especially National Socialism. Everything used to be good at one time until some asshole destroyed it. The point is, I'm trying to say is this: we need a different system other than what's going on here. We have government system that's way too damn big. At the same time, too, they have 71% of our taxes for no good freaking reason, and they're not making policy for anybody but the LGBTQ. And at the same time, too, and I'll support that. But when it comes down to those two mapped, that's when it gets different. And when it comes down to a lot of things, this is what should be the real thing that offends people, is that flag with those two colors on it. That should be the real thing that offends them. But I decided to bring the blessing with my elders to bring that flag over there, to take it out exactly the way it is, the way we saw it before, and they used it and perversed it. When I decided to do that, everybody is all offended, and I tell you why. Nobody here today has went to that war to begin with, and nobody understood the real political understanding or undertone of what really happened. They only see, that 6 million people, 6 million Jews. But guess who owns that media? And let's just say it. It's the Jews that own the media. It's the Jews. It's the Jews that own the bank system. It's the Jews that own our politicians. It's the Jews that own BlackRock. It's everything else. And I'm saying, on my land and our land, we're here to protect you, because you guys are controlled by the Jews, every single one of them. I'll put it out there, and the honest truth. And that's not even hate speech. That is just the truth that everybody's too freaking scared to talk about. And only a Native American can talk about that in his land, especially with his culture.
Well, the problem that I'm having already with this, Adrian, honestly, is that Hitler used very similar kinds of words and a similar logic, and it led to the Holocaust.
Oh, do you believe that bullshit? In all honesty,
So,
yeah, okay.
I'll just leave it with you guys. I mean, we had a longer conversation after that, but I'll just throw it out to you, and please help me understand.
And everything.
Yeah, please.
But to the point where the Jew owns everything, they own a lot. Yes. Okay. Am I against Jew? No, I'm not against Jew, but I'm against BlackRock, and I'm against all of these institutions that wants to put medical experimentation in people. And all of this, I have a serious problem. I have a serious problem when we own our own money that we're supposed to give to the leadership of this country, and it's supposed to be there for us while we have 350,000 homeless in
guys,
Canada, while we have people losing their house, where we have interest going up and up and up.
I actually like him. I respect him. We had a great conversation the other night. When he says things like that, I think that's where he starts to lose people.
Yeah, okay,
right?
that's
and I'll be
he should
honest.
have just said BlackRock and everything.
And that's why a lot of our
cause...
knowledge keepers and our clan mothers they're mothers, they're women. And to be honest, when you look at the history of what was taken and we talk about the casualties on the other side, and I walked both truths in my life. And I'll tell you from the deepest part of my heart, Rick, those people haven't been able to heal either. Those individuals from that they haven't been able to heal either properly. There's generational trauma on that side of the fence too. And at the end of the day, we're not talking about the children that are still lying beneath our feet, and every ministry is asking for more authority. And they're disregarding those as human, not even human bones. They're trying to say they're animals, and those are our children.
Oh, hey, listen, you know what? I'm with you. I'm with you. But you know what the problem is here? It's called selective history. You guys deserve to have due attention paid to those issues because they're real. But the problem is when Adrian and other people choose to completely dismiss another part of history from World War II, where he basically, not just basically, he just came right out and denied the Holocaust and also used cliched rhetoric that we hear from neo-Nazis and fascists today, which is not true, about the Jews owning the media. It's a narrative that is used.
They own a lot. They own a lot.
You show me, Matthew. I worked in mainstream media for 25 years, and I can tell you, sir, that in Canada, the media is not owned.
Okay.
Even in
I don't know.
I can tell you,
majority by the Jews.
I don't have any proof,
I understand.
But they own a lot. They control a lot. Okay. These big bankers, these big money makers.
So
I don't call it.
So the problem that I'm having here, is you've almost got, like, I acknowledge that the swastika is a symbol, a cultural symbol.
That belongs to the First Nation first.
First Nations and many other countries.
First.
Even Finland has used the swastika up until 2020 on their Air Force. But they came to the conclusion finally that it was inappropriate to continue to use it, and they stopped using it. They stopped using the swastika in 2020. Other cultures also use it, but the issues that I kind of have here with it is that this is being used in a new way. It's been used here on this flag that is created. It is new. It is being politicized. This is not just. But it's not just about the culture, Matthew. This is about
theirs. Can they use their flag? Can they use their image that they created a long time ago? Or they have to?
But it is political, and there are a lot of different ways that you can try to unify people. See, the other problem is that Adrian has not only been reclaiming it for his people, which I'm totally in favor of, and that's fine with me. But he's also encouraging others, all Canadians, to get behind that flag and use it.
We don't have a choice.
And
why
not shut people?
How many cultures across the world have been shunned for something that was stolen? And then we look at the history of this country, and the government's been infiltrated by what? The West.
It's not my culture.
The West is leaded.
It's First Nations culture.
It's more than First Nations, sir. Do you understand how many cultures across this globe that hold that symbol sacred? Do you know that I bought my home from an East Indian man? Do you know this? And when I moved in, I was negligent to the fact that him and his mom or wife blessed the home for us and drew one with their cultural tools on our property. And I brought it to his attention. I thought somebody had played a damn trick on us, and I was mad because it was right around Halloween. And I said, "I'm so sorry, sir." And I started scrubbing it off. I
but
had to
how
interpret,
can
so
you
I
unite?
apologize.
How can you bring people together with a symbol that is instantly controversial? See, you're dismissing the reaction and the historical significance that World War II brought to that symbol
No,
as well. Yes, you
we're
are.
exposing the
You're
truth and
what?
living in our
No,
truth.
Now
you're
you got it.
choosing one piece of history and saying this is the piece that's important, and the other piece over here that offends people, that triggers people in a negative way. We don't have to worry about that.
Sir, I'm sorry,
Only
that's your
this is
interpretation of it, but it's
well, that's
actually
yeah,
not true.
and
I
people
walk
here
both
get to
sides
share
of the
various
fence.
points of view.
I walk
And I'm
both
just
sides
saying,
of the fence, and I hold
if
it
the
sacred on
objective here
both
is to
sides.
bring
So
people together to try to find some sort of unifying force, I'm just saying that this maybe isn't the best symbol or the best way to do it, because you've seen it. It's instantly divisive. And therefore you have to sit there now, you have to explain all of this and you say that it's been stolen, but here in this country nobody's prevented First Nations from using it in their arts, in cultural expression. There's no law against it. It's not banned. And indeed, you yourselves took this symbol to Ottawa this past weekend and you flew the flag. You didn't
and
end
not
up.
one person looked at us, not one person shied away, not one person covered their children's eyes, and multiple people
Okay.
dropped to their knees and were in awe of it. And others were yelling how it had to be truth because it wasn't on the 45. So we can
But
all agree to disagree.
well,
But
sure, you can, and I'm not. Please don't misunderstand me, and I'm not trying to be
it's okay.
confrontational
I
with you.
get it.
Okay, I'm just trying to have the conversation. I I take issue with it because I see this as problematic when it comes to trying to bring people together. You're going to have a very hard time bringing Jewish people together and unifying with you when you're using that symbol or when you're using something that looks so darn similar to that. And while you may
That's
have the
not
It
true,
right,
is.
sir.
It,
It's not true,
and
sir. It's not true at all.
I think you'll find that it is and
Oh no,
has
I've
been
done it for
through
the past
history.
few weeks. I've been a part of
Yeah.
this change. I've been a part of this change, and
So
it's coming.
and then you combine that with the comments that we just heard from Adrian, who, and it's not the first time he has said them, because people within your own community have called him out and have expressed concerns about it as well, where he's denied the Holocaust and 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 has made these remarks about Jewish people that people take exception to. And again, maybe he's misunderstood, but these are cliches. And I think he's just a little bit misguided in this way. And again, I actually like Adrian and I respect him a great deal. But on this particular aspect of this issue, I think he's a bit off base. And it causes great difficulty when you're trying to bring people together. This is, in my view, not the right path forward. It's too confrontational.
it is. That's why we wanted it. At the end, where we stand today, war at war in our own country. It's a peaceful war, but we are at war.
Yeah.
And this old image needs to be fixed. This old lies needs to come out. We need to fix the past to resolve the future. This symbol has been stolen. This symbol has been used for misguidance and for racism and for all sorts of bad things. What we're trying to do today is explain it and try to make people understand where it comes from.
I understand your motivations. I understand that the intentions may be good. What I'm suggesting to you is that a lot of people are going to have trouble getting behind it. More than that,
whatever it takes.
The use of these symbols,
at the end,
the use of these symbols normalizes the use of them. And
are you against their clan mothers, then, Rick? Because
am I
they
against?
were the ones.
Don't take me. Don't try to take me there.
You're saying that
you're trying now. You see,
no,
now you're
I'm
trying to
ask
steep
you.
the argument in
No,
political
I'm
correctness, where you're trying to pit me against your clan mothers. I'm expressing an opinion, trying to suggest to you, I'm just trying to point out to you that a lot of people will have difficulty with this, and it's going to take a whole lot of work for you.
I couldn't agree more, but with your own
explain all of this. And
you said that it was misappropriated. So I'm asking you, are we not to
and
believe in our
talking about
faith?
misappropriation through the normalization of this symbol in our society again, I put it to you that you're opening a Pandora's box where by asking other people from other cultures to also accept and start to recycle or reuse this symbol again, you will see that it will be, and already I think to some degree has been misused and misappropriated by other people. It's a dangerous and slippery slope upon which you have
Well, I
taken
know it's
us.
dangerous.
Okay,
I stood
I'll
at
say
gunpoint
this.
all day,
Just give me
sir.
1 second. I'll say this.
Sure.
This symbol only comes out normally in the past at the last resort, at the last measures that we can use it. Then it's been replaced in a box for the next fight down the road if ever it comes back. But this symbol is only in time of war. It's only at time of last resort. It's only at time where the population is that's it. That's all. That's when you use this flag. And this has to be knowledge for the next generation to come. This symbol is, like I say, this flag that is created will last in history.
Please don't.
This one for changing the nation,
and
for doing the good thing out of it. It's not even the same symbol. It looks like it, yes, but it is not the same goal.
Please don't misunderstand me. Don't misunderstand me, please. I'm just trying to state some obvious things, which I think I mean, Matthew, you saw instantly the controversial nature of this. I'm pointing out that, you combine that with some of the words that have been used, even during the introduction of this to other people by Adrian himself. This is I'm just having a discussion about it.
We are controlled
Matthew,
by the media, by the banks, by everything.
Matthew, 1 second, brother. So the colonization and the facade that we've been living in for so long is so apparent and so evident even in our conversations today, because we're unable to stand with dignity with our symbols today without us being ostracized for it based on a complete and utter lie. And that is what our government is today. And sir, Rick, with all due respect, the individuals that are serving us are lining their pockets with over 53% of every paycheck, and it just went up on Saturday, taking away and stripping our rights to be parents and our abilities to take care of ourselves.
I'm not trying to challenge you on these issues. I mean, we're in alignment with
the person that has
stuff.
the ability to push the stop button. They're lining their pockets, and that is one of our peoples that has the ability to push the stop button, and they don't feel it's necessary because they keep getting fed by our tax dollars. And at the end of the day, this isn't up for debate. The fact is that our systems need to be changed, and nobody's willing to do it. So I will stand in my truth at the end of the day.
Rose, with all due respect, I don't really like it when there are attempts to silence me by using political correctness to cloak an issue that is controversial in political correctness. I'm just trying to have a discussion, an open discussion, and this is a controversial symbol, and I'm trying to explore the issue with you guys, and I hope that this can lead to a better place.
It just comes down to us standing in our truth, and the world will change. Stand in your truth, and the world will change.
It's not our symbol. I do not wear it because I cannot wear it.
Right.
It doesn't belong to me, to my tribe, to who I am as a person.
Me either.
The only thing I can do, if they lift it, if the First Nation decided together to approve of it, to cherish it, to whatever, to honor it, I'm all for it.
I just tell you, I can't walk around carrying that. It's not appropriate. It's not appropriate for me to carry that at all. I'm not Native, and if I walk around with a swastika, I can't sit here and say, well, it was stolen from me, because it wasn't. And
But
and people
for
will
them, it was.
look at me and they'll condemn me, and I think rightly so. Honestly, I have no issues with First Nations using symbols that belong to them.
But that's a symbol that belongs to them, that's been stolen,
fine.
and that's it. You have to understand that if they want to use it, it's their own right.
As a social
Sure.
worker and a mother, you guys are about to experience what our people experienced real soon, and it's something that the government systems are putting on us today. And every individual will experience it.
Regardless of that,
it might not hit your doorstep yet,
it's not appropriate for me to walk around carrying a Nazi symbol or even follow in the path of someone who is leading the charge with that.
Stop saying the word Nazi with this symbol, because it is not this.
Not true.
A swastika
belongs to the First Nation. The Nazi has
and that's the other thing. I mean, there wasn't even an effort made here to say this isn't a swastika. It's like the hooked cross or something to that nature.
It is a swastika. I don't care what people say. It is one, but it's this one is not related to the Nazi. It's related to the First Nation. That's two different things, though. It's a symbol, yes, but it's been first of all stolen. But at the end, anybody can use it. If it's placed on a 45, that is related to the Nazi. If it's placed normal, upside down, like straight, this is related to the First Nation. So we can say whatever we want, but at the end, if they want to lift it, and they ask me if I could be there to protect the ladies that give their liberty and things like this, I'll stand on the line for these ladies, because they have the best heart I ever seen. When I say that it's secret, that there's a soul into this image, into this, there's a force, there's something. It's incredible to have this guy that was a veteran from the Jewish and cry and hold that sign. You have to understand one thing, though. Okay, if it was
can we get him on the show? Can we get this?
Never hold
Adrian has contact information for him.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to him.
And there's more video to come. We're just working on getting it on the system, because the computer's really slow that I have right now.
So you have video of the flag being...
Yes, I have it all.
We have
right
video
now, they're
of our entire day.
I'm not a First Nation. Now I have to send all the videos I made, let's say, to the First Nation, and then they'll be able to post it, because they're allowed. We're not. Me, I get noticed. No, getting flagged all the time. So I cannot, like I say, I cannot put it. They've been allowed to put whatever they want, because this symbol belongs to them, I guess. And the guy of the whatever censorship
and you guys have been very respectful, and I think you've been careful about the words you've chosen, and you seem sensitive, to me, though those words that Adrian used, I can understand why someone Jewish would say that the words that he just used in that clip that I played would be insensitive toward the Jewish community, to veterans who fought against Hitler in World War II. I can see why people. So do you, again, I'll just throw it over to you. What's your reaction to Adrian's words with regard to the Holocaust and these cliches that he threw out there regarding the Jews?
So when we look at unity, we all have our roles to play, right? And we all say things when we're angry or upset or are passionate about things. Yeah. And sometimes things are taken out of context a little bit based on tone and body language.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I will always stand behind my brother, no matter what, because no matter what, he will stand up for our children. And at the end of the day, I know the suffering that individuals have endured on both sides of this fence. Yeah. I did a lot of soul searching, but at the end of the day, if nothing else, I'm going to teach my children that they have to stand in their truth in order for them to excel as people, in order for our world to change, and in order for everybody to be better people.
Yeah.
So whatever truth that might be, I don't discount anything that happened or what was experienced by the individuals in those camps or the following generations. because I know generational trauma, but I also understand generational trauma recovery and what the in-depth onion layer effect needs to be. And to be all honest, in order for them to have true grievance and allow them to heal, the truth needs to come out. And in order for our systems to be shaken to the core, sometimes real truth hurts. I've looked myself in the mirror a lot of days and not understood a lot of things that was going on in my life. But at the end of the day, a lot of what occurs for people is what they put out into the world and what comes back to them. And at the end of the day, sir, whatever trials and tribulations come my way, I have stood in my truth. And I'll tell you, this woman who helped form me into the woman I am today, who died while hugging a toilet, and needless to say, had a very small memorial service because the limit was 10. They had another memorial service that was devastated by fires, and people, not a lot of people were able to go. This woman helped hundreds of kids in the Alberta system walk in their truth and speak their truth in every arena daringly for recovery. Mm-hmm. And this woman was a direct survivor. So I stood on my own contemplation this entire time, and I'm not backing down without my integrity and my pride and showing my children that that is how we move forward. Whether it be based on a lie or the truth, the individual next to you, it's not based on their color of skin. It's not based on anything other than we were able to high five people of every color that day with red on our hands, and they weren't even concerned about getting it off. We all bleed the same color at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, we're all going to experience what each party on either side of the fence has already experienced. Mm-hmm. And it's happening right here on our soil, whether people want to believe it or if it's hit their backyard. But these little social or these little private issues that are slowly becoming social concerns, we're passing a point of no return and time's running out. They already have been infiltrated by somebody who represents the lie. That symbol that's a lie is already representative as the WEF, who's infiltrated every part of our government. So how do you beat the lie? Then by standing in a truth, someday, some way, some shape or form. And I will take whatever comments come my way. I will take the hurt feelings and I will walk with an individual through that. Yeah. I will sit with them, and I'm the same individual like other people who have left their phone numbers freely online. I'm that person that you call at 4 a.m. I'll take that call. I'm that person that will pick an elderly lady up off the ground before Easter dinner because she can't afford eggs in front of my children on a marketplace floor and find the money to help feed her, and then go talk to our parliament about it, who doesn't want to hear us. And at the end of the day, our children are at the basis of all of this. Mm-hmm. And I've seen, and as a social service worker, I've seen it more than once, not just with mine. And I will never stand for things being taken with no right, whether that be a symbol, a child, or a God-given right. And that comes with the law of peace.
So for me, let's say that I respect Adrian. What Adrian said about the Jew, I would not use these words personally. I think it was a little bit too direct. Because there's more than the Jews that own BlackRocks, that own the banks, that own the stocks of many big companies. That, okay, there's not only the Jew. And I think this is a little bit out context. Me, the thing is, I cannot continue on living in this country this way. We have tons of fire right now in our country from east to west, all over. Our Canadian war bombers right now are in Ukraine, and it's the leftover of the states that are doing this for us. Okay, at the end, it's an issue. We have such a bad leadership that we don't know what to do no more, because no matter what we do, no matter how much accountability and proof and side effects and this and that we bring, we're not having any results on any of the action we take. No matter if we yell for years, days and days and days and days. We manifest days and days and days and days. We spend our own money days and days and days. And we bring our family days and days and days. Because we don't accept what's happening. But at the end, no matter what we do, no matter what, these big leadership still plays the puppeteers on all of us, till the leadership of our country. Do you think Trudeau is enough strong to take all these decisions? No, he's not. It's the puppeteer on top of him that tells him what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And at the end, that's the problem. And that's why I'm fed up. And that's why I want all these big companies and this big dictation, like Amazon and all of these, that came into our country that doesn't pay tax, that doesn't pay anything, that sells to our people, and all our little mom and pops and all the little companies of our Canadians that brought us up by their own self and tears are suddenly bankrupt because of this. And this is the most, why I'm always there. It's for the next generation. Do I want to leave my child in this kind of world? No, I don't. And I won't continue on accepting everything that he's doing. We have to find a solution. There must be a legal way to have accountability for action he did. And that's my philosophy. The term he used were a little bit too hardcore, because there's way more of the Jews and the Black Rock and all of this. It's all this crookedness. See all the people in it, and not one. The white, the black, the this, the that. I don't care. All of them. See, me, it's bring them all out. Me, I want my Canadian to rise. I want this country to be proud. You look at the provincial festivity and things like this that happen in Quebec, and you look at the festivity in Ottawa. You know what I find? Sad Canadian, because they're kind of want to celebrate, but they're so ashamed and they're so drained and like what's happening, and they're all like confused and everything. So you see it when they wear their flag. You see them when they, in their expression of their face, that they're sad. They're sad about what? They're sad about what's happening. They're sad about not having money at the end of the month. They're sad about not being able to feed the family. They're sad about all those things. At the end, it's a big flag. I know it shocks, right? But that's what we really wanted at the end. It's to shock people, to say, wake the hell up. Because for the past 3 years, we are sleeping. We are accepting everything. We're not concentrating on the real facts that we need to fix. And what we need to fix is this bad leadership, these bags action, that's what I want to fix at the end. And yes, I am fed up. I've been fighting like as a freedom fighter for the past 1.5 years. And now all that team has suddenly the exhaustion, the drainage, the not winning anything. Suddenly they do, it's suddenly going down. And that's why on my birthday, I decided we need something to shock people. We need something. I know it's hard to accept. Just to put it in your head 48 hours, and you'll see that maybe you're gonna say, "Oh,
I've been thinking about it for more than 48 hours." We've discussed this with Adrian, a few times over the last 6 months or so, actually. So yeah,
Can I just leave you with something?
I'm so with you guys.
Can I leave you guys with something
that we can
because I have to
predict the
take
future
off?
about what's good, what's bad, what's the good thing to do? We don't have it. We cannot see it and say, "Oh, that's where we need to go." But at the end,
we've got this convoy coming up, that people are working on, and I mean, I don't know, but Rose, you want to close something off, and we'll get to your thoughts when we come back.
If these systems that are actually fake, that have been built in place to strip us of our resources and not give back to Mother Earth or the people that occupy Mother Earth, and the babies, if they're willing to take one of the greatest, most influential symbol in our culture and use it to traumatize another nation and another group of individuals, they did that. We didn't. And then they're willing to strip us down to everything, including the core of our beings. So it takes, since those babies were buried and stripped from their parents, till my grandmother, till me, till my daughter, this is how many years have gone on, and they've stripped the core of all of us. And now we have a nation of our people that, based on not just the stolen representation of the greatest symbol and the most significant, powerful symbol, as the clan mothers put it, within our nation, but everything, including our identity.
The swastika is the most powerful
is one
symbol.
of the most. You did not hear that in the clan mother's words?
It's the most powerful one.
So it's like taking the cross and use it against them, right? But we're able to make reconciliations and forgivenesses in our mind for one of our top genocides as well, because that's where true healing begins. And yet nobody can take a step aside and actually look at the reality of the fact that if they're willing to do it to us, and we were the first occupants of this land, what makes you think that they're not looking at us like we're a bunch of motherfucking peons and we're ants and we're going to be stepped on? They just took the Canadian flag and added Indigenous art to it. You want to know how much of a smack in the face that is? And you want to talk about symbols? Do you understand that that maple leaf in the center actually originated from the Ku Klux Klan uniform, and it was Kill Kanata?
You see exactly. So when it's flipped around the other way, you take offense.
Oh, no, right? I don't take offense. I do take offense is the actions behind it, because before all of this, they stripped us of everything.
You take offense to the use of First Nations symbolism,
but they're using it anyways,
to the Canadian
right? So
flag.
What gives them the right if we don't have the right? If we don't have the right, what right do they have?
No one's taking your right away. No one did take your right away. You've been using it, and you just did.
They did. For a long time, they did.
Who took it away?
And a lot of people hide from the truth.
Well, who
and
took your
unfortunately,
symbol away?
We're at a point of life where everybody has to stand and draw a line in the sand somewhere.
The Nazis used it, and the Nazis tarnished. You know,
the Nazis tarnished it. Thank you again, Rick. That's the third time I've heard it today. The Nazis did that. We didn't.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Nobody here in Canada prevented you at any time that I'm aware of from
look, Rick, I can't put it on my TikTok, on my Facebook, on anything. I'm not a First Nation, so they blocked me again. It's all about what they decide, who can use what and who can do what. That's the problem in our country, Rick. You must have things that you want to talk about the vaccination, the side effects.
Censorship, huge issue, absolutely.
Because you're not a doctor, a specialist, you don't have the freaking license to talk about it. Even if you publish a doctor that has the license and has everything with it,
100%,
but you're still not allowed to use it because they don't want you to fucking use it because you have too much of a big platform and things like this. Okay, at the end,
my channels get banned, man. I'm telling you, I'm with you. I get it.
You did it. Listen, you're a guy that you're on it. You're not all for one part or all for the other part.
No, I'm
just
not.
saying, listen, don't you think that this could do this and could do that? And you're quite neutral, and I respect this out of you, okay? Me, again, I'm not an anti-Jew. I'm not a racist. My girlfriend's black, so I am certainly, she comes from Haiti. Listen, we have to understand one thing, okay? If the clan mothers, I believe in clan mothers, like they're a good soul, okay? You're not a clan mother just by clicking your finger and I'm a clan mother, okay? Like there's trust, there's a lot of things about this. And but I believe in the First Nation and their mentality about you don't kill what you don't eat, you don't tarnish the water you drink, you don't pollute the air that you breathe. There's a good mentality about the First Nation that I really admire. Okay, to with the most deepest part of my soul, I admire this. But the leadership of our country, is the and what's happening right now is terrible. We're losing Canada. Like I'm not like to use the term Canada when you look at the history again, the First Nation. Okay, that this was their land at the first and been promised a lot of things. Have they received what they've been promised? No. Have they been told things that never happened? Yes. Have they been stepped on and put in literal areas outside so they don't bother it? Yes. Again, is this logic? Like, how come there's no First Nation in the leadership of this country sitting at the round table and being there to say, listen, this is our land. We must have a speak at the end. We must be included. It's all this restructurizing that I'm talking about a little bit at the end. Okay.
Well, I think that there is more of that going on. I think we've made a lot of gains there. And if you even speak to someone like Ellis Ross, you know, he'll tell you that a lot of progress has been made. And, you know, but those are other issues to explore, you know. But you see me nodding a lot with you guys.
I don't have this perfect.
I'm sitting here nodding with you. I'm agreeing with so much of what you say.
I really don't know. The only thing I can say is all my teammates for the past year and a half, I can look at them today and they're tired, Rick. They're exhausted, Rick. They're broke, Rick, because everything they've been earning, they save as much as possible to rally, go in manifestations, stand up, make noise. My Toronto boys are crazy, like they're all over the place. And
listen, Matthew, I think Rose kind of has to go, so maybe we can throw it over to her and just get her to a final comment or whatever, because I think you've got kids tugging at you there, Rose, that maybe need your attention. Do you want to wrap up? And you know what? I'm so appreciative of you coming on, and you know, I'm glad that we could have this respectful conversation.
I was just going to thank you myself,
and I'm really grateful. But I'll throw it over to you so you can wrap up with some final thoughts, and then I'll just continue with Matthew here.
So I do appreciate that there were victims all around the board, and that a lot of people have suffered in the past. I truly believe in my heart of hearts that true recovery begins with the truth, the core of the truth, and the allowance for people to walk in their truths. And with that being said, it's a trust fall. And at the end of the day, long before us, there was systems that worked called the Great Law of Peace. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, this isn't a game we should be willing to play. It needs to go on no more. Our children are at the end of the microscope. What are we willing to do to stand for our kids at the end of the day? And please let it be in peace, because too many of our forefathers have lost their life and too much blood has already been shed for these matters. That in all respect, if they were men of honor that sat in that house, they would take a step back and choose their words wisely when they tell two Indigenous women on their land they can't perform ceremony. That crosses the line for me, because where are my kids going with that? And when they have two innocent women just trying to carry out cultural views, and they have them at gunpoint all day long, I'd go back and replay that day every day over for the next 10 years if it meant that my kids could live in peace and freedom, because I know that history will not repeat itself on my watch if it's the last thing I do. And with that being said, anybody that wants to have a respectful conversation with me, they're more than welcome to reach out. I'll educate them on everything I do know, and I'll further direct them to a knowledge keeper if I have permission, because this is treasured knowledge that can take our people, this great nation, everybody in its entirety, into the future. And I'm pleading with people to see what I did there and stood as a mom, not just for the integrity of that symbol, but for our children and for the future of our nation. I plead that people see the core of me, because anybody who knows me personally knows that I have breathed life, sir, I have given people Narcan, breathed life into them, and given them CPR. And that means every walk of life, every sexual orientation. I didn't play God. I didn't choose who I helped save. And at the end of the day, I don't want to plead with anybody else or with God to keep people alive so that they can see the outcome of this world. Because at the end of the day, people are killing themselves
No, you
at
froze
a
up there.
rapid
Yeah.
It's cutting, Rose.
speed.
Yeah, we're losing your connection there, Rose.
Yeah. Maybe coming back. I don't know.
Well, we may have lost her. I don't know.
Hello?
Well, we're here, Matthew. There
Oh,
she is. She's back.
there she is.
And our children will never get the future they deserve unless we get off this insanity wheel and make the systems, which I've been doing for months, literally meeting with people and putting a moral compass and mirror in front.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, okay. So,
And
Yeah.
that's wrong. Our
okay,
babies
so you,
deserve more of these people,
I
and
hear
they
you.
take so much from us, and they cannot serve our children. And so, with that being said, I appreciate your honesty, the opportunity to speak within your arena, and to share my honesty with the world. And for that, I'm grateful. And Matthew, I'll always stand beside you no matter what, brother. From now until the day this world burns up, you and I, and many
Might be
that have stood
tomorrow.
for
It
this
won't
and
burn
more,
up. We're here
will
to
be
defend
united.
it. Don't worry. Oh, great. Something good.
We'll
Thank
be
you,
united.
Rose.
And one day
Yeah.
we'll all walk,
Yeah.
symbols aside and everything, we'll all walk together. You have a very wonderful evening, and God bless you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Rose. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I mentioned that convoy coming up, and we spoke to Gordon earlier in the broadcast. I don't know if you saw that. You kind of, you're not, didn't seem too enthusiastic, Matt.
I don't know. It's been a year and a half, Rick. You know, like it's
Yeah.
been since the convoy. I didn't stop one single day. I was working from 7 to 4, then 4 to 10, 11 at night with freedom for people and talking and organizing and this and that.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're not to this point. We need to find another action, Rick, to settle this convoys and things like this. You can make as much as you want till we find a way for him to be accountable for what he did. That's what we need. You understand? But I can't computerize, Rick, the country we're living in right now. We
Well,
had
yeah,
the national inquiry, citizen inquiry that passed
Yes, yeah.
all the province from east to west, everything, all bunch of documentation, all bunch of results, all bunch of kids. Where are those? How come it's not on the news? How come we're not talking about it? How come? That's the thing I'm
Yeah, they're on the
stunned about.
verge, I think, maybe even this week of releasing their report, the NCI.
But I hope there's something big, Rick, because guess what? What is this? Where are we going? You know, I see adults fighting one against the other for child. Rick, the most important thing is the child, okay?
Mhm.
Let's say a transgender, Rick, is what? A man's body with a soul that's a female. Let's give it up to that, to have a basic kind for me to be able to comprise it. But at the end, if that person doesn't feel well being in the dressing room of boys because she feels a woman, and little girls don't feel appropriate to have a little boy into their bathroom, how about we make a private bathroom for them and a private changing room for them, and we settle basically everything? But we're not there. Then it's the sexual things they teach in school, Rick, that is, to my eyes, out of born. Like when you talk about preschool and things like this, and talking about the male's genital and the female's genital, at the end, 9th grade. Okay, let's talk about sexuality on 9th grade and over. But again, let's not emphasize with drag queen flags all over a school. Let's leave the children alone. Let's not bring the cross or the whatever Muslim and things. Let's keep the school neutral to all kids to be able to get raised with proper respect, dignity, no bullying, things like this. And then we'll achieve something. But it's not by fighting like this that we're going to have something.
I agree. I agree with you, man. I agree. I'm absolutely there with you on that.
At the end, it's the term respect. It's the term honor. It's the term about not judging one another, not splitting apart, accepting one another. We're all not there anymore. We're all dividing like extreme left, extreme right, and nothing balanced, and it's all a chaos right now. And I'm wondering, when's the end? When are we ending this nonsense? When are we getting back to the real roots of this country, of this land? When? Because this, to have one of my good friends, Brian, being dragged out of the courthouse, not a bar, not a courthouse, by two police officers, arrive outside with his pants off and the boxer halfway down that you could almost see his genitals. At the end, I'm sorry to say, but there's a manner to do things in life, okay? And even if they did that 2 weeks ago, when I arrived, because Ottawa knew this weekend we were coming and everything, and I talked with police liaison, even if you play like that with us, I'm going to be honest. I won't disrespect you. I won't go and put that as in front of all the big crowds with everything around to have a chaos.
To provoke. You didn't want to provoke.
We were not there to provoke anybody. We were there, first of all, to lift a powerful flag, because we need something in Canada, because nothing is getting done right now. There's no force. There's no more unity. There's no, you're going to say, oh, man, why dislike? It's dislike that they decided to use. And at the end, again, it's not a swastika Nazi. It's just put your mind a little bit into it, even if it looks the same. I know it.
I understand. I understand. I do understand.
I know that a lot of people are gonna have problems like accepting it. But if we put in our minds that we, in history of this world that continues in the future, if we ever says we're gonna grab this flag, we're gonna fix this issue that we're in today. At the end of this issue that we're going to fix one day soon, we're going to grab it. We're going to reseal it for the next generation up ahead. If ever there's another kind of problem on this earth, on this land, we will be able to bring it back. But it's not a thing that you bring in and out and in and out. And it's a brand, or it's something like this. It's not a brand, though. Okay, it's a really deep
a cultural
energy
symbol
kind of thing. It's completely not what people think. I saw it this weekend, my friend. She opened it when she saw it. Okay, because Angel is a kind of really spiritual person. She waited, then she looked at the sky. She saw, okay, this is the time. It made like a thunderbird right in the sky, okay? As soon as she opened it, it didn't stop, like it started raining like just a little bit, Rick. When I say, I never, like, even under my shower, I don't have that much water coming down. Like, it was like, what did she say? Like, it was pouring. We had almost water up to our knees. Like, it was insane. But to not have seen it from my own eyes, Rick, I would not have believed it. Okay. But again, I'm a respectable Canadian. Means my goal is not to offend the population, straight not up to that. I want the population first to understand what's the difference between the two flags, because we need to fix history if we want to fix the future. And that sign and this history and everything that happened that we need to care for. And we need to say it was not logic, it was evil, it was terrible. There's millions of people that died. There's but we're doing almost the same thing today, Rick. Do you know that in the Ottawa River, you have nuclear waste right now in the Ottawa River from a plant that's leaking in Ottawa, but people don't, well, they continue on boating and things like this. That all the signs on side of the beach and everything say, "Oh, do not swim, do not swim." People fish from there. They eat the fish. Do you understand? And we're not talking about
you know what,
Rick.
Matt? This is sort of my point, though. There are big issues that we have to deal with as a society, across cultures and communities. I think that this whole thing that Adrian has pushed to the forefront, it's like, why I think that
it's me. It's not the flag that I have a problem.
We
It's a
shouldn't
little
be.
bit what he says.
I don't
directly
think this
to the
is
Jew. Like the
productive.
Jew are the only leaders. The problem.
I don't think it's productive to be focused on this when we've got all this other stuff to deal with. And I don't see any reason why, like, go ahead, use it if you want to use it within your community.
Me, I cannot use it. I cannot carry it.
No, not you and not me. I mean, Adrian.
I put my
I don't
hands
mean you.
once I was blessed on it once, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean,
but about that, I do not carry it. I do not.
Right.
I cannot.
Which is exactly why. To me, this is an unnecessary distraction.
You have to understand the power of it, Rick.
Because
until you understand the real power of that flag.
Well, sure, but
a whole bunch of everything. But
it's not something that, as I said, it doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to you. Go ahead, Adrian. Go ahead.
It's
reintroduce
not that
it to your
it doesn't belong to me. You have to be, once you go there, Rick, you cannot go back. It's once you put your mind into this symbol and this identity. I'm not going back me to the liberals, the conservative, the NPD. All these political party is the same tree, just a different branch, but you're on the same freaking tree. Where I decided to split myself is I'm going that direction. Why? Because this is the new tree we planted. This is the new breed that's going to get out of it. And the self-respect and the self-manners and the caring about the civilization, the earth, the land, the air, the water, the this. It's all about this symbol. It's all about this energy, about this letter that these.
So you think that this symbol, that Canada, Canadians, and First Nations are going to follow that symbol to salvation?
I believe that, like I say, it's all in the explanation of the symbol of the flag that you can get people till you really read it and understand.
That's the flag that we're going to unite behind. That's the flag that we're going to follow.
It's a beautiful flag, Rick. It's a beautiful flag. Once you know the meaning of that flag, I
can't see it happening.
I know. Me neither. At the beginning, I was like, I was really skeptical. But again, when you understand that it's not the Nazi one, it's not that direction, it's completely inverse from that. It's completely the opposite of what it was. Then you can put in your head that it's a beautiful thing. But it's really the opposite. You know that the Ukraine army still wears the sign you showed before. The Ukraine army still have them on their suit.
They have a number of different
but they have it on their
black sun,
on their uniform. And at the end, we send a lot of money to Ukraine. We send a lot of things to Ukraine. But they're wearing this. But you're gonna say that our symbol is racist. You understand how berserk this doesn't balance? Because it's not this flag. What you hate, the flag that you hate, that you would spit on. It's Ukraine that wears it on their suit. And the one that you think like, oh, it's all crooked and everything. This is the right symbol that people could wear once they. Because I have to admit, you have to 100% be in it. Because after that, I know that tonight, for the rest of my days, they'll use this as an asset to say, oh, he's a Nazi. Don't vote for this guy because this guy is an insane person that believes in Nazi. I
Well,
do not.
that's the other reason I think it's dangerous to use it, because the
Once you
opponents
go,
of this
once you
movement use
decided
it
to
to
go there,
discredit.
there's no coming back. You know, that you, me, là, the liberals, the conservatives, the NPD, là, ship this thing out of office as ASAP as you can make it. Why? They're not there for you. They're there for their bank account. Mr. Singh is only waiting là, for his retirement, là, a pension plan that's going to come in a couple of years, and boom, he's out. Là. Okay? He's not there for you. Me, I would do the job for free, Rick. Give me this title, I'll do the job for freaking free, just to save my country, just to save my Canadian, just to save this land, just to save the First Nation and make them, how come? I'm not
Save
saying,
it. When you say save it, what does that mean though? Because every time I turn around, people who say they want to save the country on all sides, including the government, oh, we're going to save the country. It seems like everybody just wants to tear it down, because nobody seems to believe in the country or the system at all. So
okay,
what's
to
being
fix
saved?
this system. Fix the billionaires that control this country.
Yeah.
Okay, like I said before, Amazon and all these kind of things, that all the small businesses are not able to open because of them and things like this. I know the internet now is more easy. You just click on, yeah, but you're hurting your civilization. You're hurting your people that lives around you, because they would have a little shop that you could go to get that, and they would make a little bit of money, but they would have eat at the end of the week.
Again, like, just what are we saving? What do you want
What
to
are we
save?
saving?
Do you want to save Canada? Because people keep
I want to
saying
save
it,
the land.
and then when I find
wanna
out what they
save
really want to
Turtle
do,
Island, and
they
it's
really want to
bigger than
blow it up.
Canada.
So
it's all the
they want to
US,
blow
it's
up the
all
system.
Mexico, it's all Canada. Turtle Island is big. Okay, we need to fix this issue. We need to build our stuff. Let's stop bringing our money from all over. Let's start working. Let's put our population to work.
Sure.
Let's stop bringing things and bringing. You
Agreed.
can do it. Get up, get a job. Let's do our stuff. Let's make our own clothes. Let's make our own things. We don't need China and everybody to feed us all these things. We can do this by our own self as a Canadian. And that's what's so honorable about Canada. It's just Canada has lost the faith, has lost the energy to get up and to make something out of it. That's the problem with Canada. The self-respect of each other has went away too. We don't respect.
So that's a nationalistic economic policy that you're advocating for. I'm with
their
you.
Little life. Me, my life.
Bring production back to the country. I'm all for that.
You know, it's we have the most beautiful country, Rick. You cannot find a most beautiful country as this one. We have everything we need, all the materials we need, all the energy we need, all the wind, the water.
So when I listen to you, it's like you and I seem to agree on just about everything, honestly. Am I right in here when I hear you? And am I hearing you right when do you want to save the country and fix what we have, or do you want to tear it down and build something new?
That's a hard question. You know, it turning down, because when you begin, let's say you say, okay, we stop Amazon and we stop all these big companies to import all their stuff into art, and but you have to make the manufacture. You need to build this, you need to build that to be able to do all of this. It's a process, but for sure it's to restructurize this country completely, yes, but to completely destroy it and build it now, we have to restructurize from east to west completely. We need to think about the province, the healthcare, the elders, the environment, the things like that. It's a big issue, but now, you know, like things like they can come and get your kid if they don't fit the bubble they want you to be as a parent and things like this. Yeah. If you're a parent that beats the child and abuses the child, for sure, get out. You're not made to be a parent. Okay, that I get it. But for the parents that are good parents and things like that, but the society or the judging people that decide this decision suddenly says, oh, no, we're taking the kid away. Things like this stress me. Because this is only the beginning. once after that, they're gonna what? They're gonna say, "Oh, you're not fit to do this." So, oh no, no more car for you. Oh, no more this. Oh, no more that. Oh, you don't. You're gonna stay in your 15-minute city. Don't go there. Go here. At the end of that, whatever, the year and a half of that bizarre pandemic, okay, I was not able to buy clothes, socks. I was able to buy gas and food. The rest, it was not essential. Hey. I had that guy that went in Toronto in a Speedo at minus 35 on the highway. It's like saying clothes are not essential.
Yeah.
You know, the population, Rick, is
Thong
to a point where are we going?
Yeah.
What more can we accept? That's the thing. That's the question I'm wondering is what can they do more than what they already did? Like, what's the next step? Like, but it's the 15-minute city. It's the digital thing to put in your body so you can pay everything, your permits, everything's on it, the chip this, the chip. I don't want to be a barcode. What is this? Who said that I wanted to be a barcode? Who said that I wanted to be controlled everywhere I go? Who said that I give you the right to, let's say, the pandemic? How come my doctors were not I don't know, legal doctors or acceptable doctors, but the one that said, oh, no, the other side, them, they were all okay. But mine, no, yours, no, they're not okay. At the end, that's the thing. It's okay, the Bill C-11. We can all put that away once we have somebody good at the leadership and can say, no. We need to take care of this. We need to make sure that people are able to say whatever they want. If it's not like a bunch of, like psychotic people going bad shit. But the rest, listen, two doctors are two doctors. They can argue in between the two. It's up to you to decide which doctor that you more believe in. But at the end, that if they've been raised at the same school, had the same teacher, has the same things, but had two different mentality, then it's up to you to decide which mentality you want to go in at the end, And listen, I don't know, like, what's the solution? I don't have a crystal ball. The only thing I know is the population has no more energy. It's drained. They can make another convoy. They'll be stopped. Sorry, I just have to drink a little bit. They're gonna be stopped where? Do you think they're gonna be able to come in Ottawa? Good luck. Good luck with the police of Ottawa. They're hardcore and they to a point where I'm scared. I'm scared, Rick, about what they could do. Because now they drag you, they beat you, they bring you down the street, they do whatever they want, and there's no accountability for none of their action that they're doing. And I respect all of them. I just don't like certain of them because they're not all like this. Like Chris Amarch and things like this are great people that works, that wants to talk, that wants to negotiate, that are able to negotiate, that are not like super minded. I am the law, and you're nothing. Okay. Right. This weekend, I like I said to him, I said, I will make sure that you will not be affected and no Canadian will be ever affected about what we'll do this weekend. And we're the only one that were able to raise it up, basically. Okay. At the end, listen, we can be for it, against it, see it a little bit bad. Again, Adrian, what he said about the Jew is a little bit hardcore to my eyes because there's more than just the Jew in all of these companies that we live in that controls us. Okay, at the end, there's way more than them, but they're all as crooked as whatever as the enterprise completely. So, to my eyes, that you're Jew, that you're this, that you're as soon as you're with the World Economic Forum and the digital ID and the big companies as BlackRocks and things like this that control majority of the stocks of majority of all the company of this world, what do you do? I don't know, but I don't want to accept this forced vaccination. I do not trust them. The mRNA and all of this, I don't believe in it. At the end, it goes far away and it goes against my values. When I think about nature's law, when I think about Turtle Island, when I think about taking care of the air, the water, the earth, the food, the cockroach that they want to give us as protein, Rick. Now, all of these things needs to be addressed. Till we address all of these problems that we're in right now, nothing's going to change. And you have to find other ways than to yell with flags. This doesn't work no more. It's been a year and a half. We did it from east to west. Sorry to say. Bring 4, 5, 6, 10 million people non-stop standing in Ottawa making noise. Then you'll make something. Maybe you'll achieve something with 10 million people standing. No trucks, no horn, no, nothing. People standing loud and proud. No violence, no, nothing broken, none of this. You don't want to end up like France. No. There's nothing good about this. Look at France.
Yep.
You think I would be honored of the people that are living there? You're breaking your commerce. You're breaking your city. You're breaking little people. Everything they own, they put in their business and things like that. And for the fun of it, you're going to set it on fire or you're going to break it in. You're going to steal everything. To my eyes, I don't want to go there. There's other way to go and achieve it. Okay, but for sure we have to have accountability now. I hope that the National Inquiry, Citizen Inquiry is going to do something. I hope it's going to bring enough proof to make an end to all of this. But police brutality has nothing to do with Monsieur Trudeau. No? This is a society kind of problem. You know, this is the society that needs to be willing to treat each and single one with respect. I'm not against the LGBTQ. I'm not against the church people that says, oh, we don't. But there needs to be an understanding at the end between the two. You cannot be, okay, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I'm this and that, and bring your personal beliefs and things. And and like I say, it's not a sexual thing. Sexual things should happen in school and really young age and things like this. Like, there's all sorts of respect and issue right now. Like, where do we begin? But the first thing we have to do is the leadership. We need somebody at the leadership that stops this. But there's none. They're all controlled. Monsieur Poilievre is not better than Monsieur Trudeau. I'm telling you right now, he won't make a difference to my eyes. It's going to be the same thing. He's just going to cut more and do this and do that. But again, he's owned by the World Economic Forum and all these puppeteers on top. Till we cut the string of that puppeteer, there's nothing we'll be able to come out of. We have to cut the strings to make something out of it.
Well, Matthew,
what's the best way?
It's now a little after 9.
Yeah.
It's time for us to kind of wrap up. So just
But
very quickly,
thank you.
Some last words.
I want to thank you personally for inviting me. People, don't look at a symbol and just associate it straight to Nazi. Try to read this clan mother's really well rested head and read it all. And then you'll understand the sign and then you'll be able to go in the back. We don't want it to be a brand. It's not a brand like Every Child Matter, things like that. It's not a thing that we want to use it to settle this war that we're in. But once the war is over, we're going to fold it. We're going to make a ceremony, flip it back around, and it's going to be kept forever. A next war or a next big social issue like we're in right now, we will be able to bring it back. We want to maybe make something like this happen, Rick, more than anything else. It's not a thing that we want to use. It's not like, hey, we want to use it. We don't have a choice because we're at the end of the road. People are fed up, are strange, are drained. There's nothing else. But again, I just want to say to each and single one of you, take care of one another, be there for one another, help one another, find a way to achieve everything socially, society, family-wise, everything. Respect your child. Listen to your child. Your child needs more listening than anything else. if he has something, if he feels proud of something or whatever, if he has, don't try to fighting for him. Talk with him and give him the advice to go forward with all of this. And the thing is, let's make this, okay? Let's end this, Canada. We can do this. There's nothing too big, too difficult, too extreme for us not to accomplish it. No matter if you're a freedom fighter, a First Nation, a great Canadian with heart, Français Canadien, LGBTQ, we never die. We only multiply by being there for one another and respecting one another. And that's what I wanted to say, Rick. And again, have a great night, my friend. And thank you so much to have bring me on your show. If ever you want to bring me for any events in Ottawa or anything about what's happening in Ottawa or anything like this, feel free, my friend, to give me a call. Let me know. We'll organize something. Like I say, it's last minute and we still went 2 hours almost, and
Right,
it's all
yeah.
good. But thank you for
Matthew.
being there.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed speaking with you. It's been great to have you on the show. And
thank you so much to do this. It takes people like you. I know, like it's not the easiest thing sometimes because there's hard subject. That's what being a news reporter is all about. It's the subject sometimes can get a little bit anxious, but
with all the polarization that's out there politically, it's very difficult sometimes for me to have people with different views on, or even to ask, challenging questions, because people take offense to it and they want you to pick a side, be on this
There's
team or
no
that
side.
team. And I'm trying to just be fair all the way around, always. And I appreciate you, allowing me to ask the questions, explore the issue, and have the conversation. It's important.
Thank you so
we
much.
need to do that.
Thank you. It's all about this. It's sometimes you can be for something or against something, but at the end, try to see why you're not for it and try to see the solution, how you can be for it, but have some sort of balance in between the two.
People will make their own assessment here based on what they saw tonight, and they can make up their own minds. And that's really what this channel is about. We present issues and have discussions.
It's not about racism and things like that. People put that out of your head right now. I'm not for anything related to the H guy. Okay, this guy, I would spit on that man. I don't like him. I am not a racist person. And at the end, Rick, that's the most important thing is I wanted to fix that image, saying like, oh my God, let's fix this image. Maybe if we fix that image sometime, maybe something good can happen of it, because you fix the past. You fix this bad freaking thing that we put in our mind for so long. And at the end, if we don't want to end up in a situation bad as this in our own land, like in France and things like this, let's address it peacefully, honorably, respectfully, but we must address it. That's how we need to do it. I don't know how. I don't have a magic ball. If somebody does, please contact me. Let me know what you see, that I'll go and I'll try to do it. But at the end, Rick, it's all about respect. It's all about honor. And thank you for having me on your show.
Great respect for you, my friend. And we will definitely have you back on the program.
Anytime.
All right. Thank you.
Anytime you want, my friend.
All right. It's been fun.
Wish you all the best. Bye-bye.
Take care. See ya. And there you have it. Thank you to Matthew and Rose for joining us on the program tonight. It gave us, a broader perspective. I hope it was helpful to all of you. We disagree on a few things there. I'm not convinced that using that flag is the best idea. But I'm still in favor of free speech, freedom of expression, as you know, and I think they have the right to do what they want to do. So have at it. That's my position on it, but it doesn't mean that I feel comfortable following it or backing it up. I don't. And you've heard the words here tonight. You guys can make up your own mind, or your minds collectively or individually. I think we're all individuals, and you can make up your minds as individuals. Is it good? Do you agree with it or not agree with it? It's up to you. I have my own position on it. In fact, when I come back, I'm just going to take a brief break, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to give you some final thoughts on this whole issue tonight to kind of sum things up. I've kind of got them organized, and I'll be right back after this. Don't go away. Oh, I missed the cue here. Hang on a second. Here we go.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So very interesting, sometimes heated conversation tonight about these flags, these two flags. And I just have these thoughts, and I formulated them through the day, refined them a little bit as the conversation took place tonight. And I want to just try to summarize this and say that just because you can do something, it doesn't mean you should. Adrian, the realist, great respect for him. I appreciate him coming on the other night to have another discussion about this issue. I appreciate our guests coming on tonight. But Adrian made a conscious decision to reclaim a cultural symbol, and he's thrust this to the forefront of discussion intentionally. But it isn't just about culture. Adrian stated that he wants to create division. He said that here on this program. And you heard Matt say as well, they wanted to shock people. Matt said that they didn't want to provoke people down there in the Capitol today. I think they backed off, and we heard that they decided not to actually try to get up on the Hill, which was a little bit contrary to what Adrian said. But Adrian wasn't there, so I can understand why there was some maybe confusion about what actually happened. That's why we had these guys on tonight. They were there. But Adrian says he wants people to get angry and upset, and through that make people think about this symbol, this swastika. He says the symbol was stolen from him and his people, and that's what we also heard tonight from our two guests. Now, perhaps Adolf Hitler appropriated it. Maybe it was cultural appropriation. That symbol has been used by many cultures throughout history for thousands of years. But if anyone is smiling about Adrian deciding to recycle the swastika, it's got to be Hitler, in my view. Not because it's a racist symbol when used by First Nations, but used in this manner, thrust to the front again, and with Adrian asking white people to get behind it. Hitler's got to be smiling from his grave. It's just the way it is. Adrian also believes our banking system is controlled by Jewish people. He says that the media is controlled by Jews. When you throw those comments into the mix, and he's made those comments before, been called out by people within his own community for being anti-Semitic, and then you throw these symbols out there like that, symbols that honestly are so similar to Nazi Germany symbols that it's difficult to differentiate unless you are educated on it. It makes it very difficult for people to understand what the heck is going on, or not. Maybe they do understand. By putting that swastika on a flag, in my estimation, it is being politicized. Adrian is politicizing the use of the swastika. It goes beyond cultural expression. And, some of the people who took part in that ceremony in Ottawa on July 1st or Canada Day, said that they didn't want to be involved in politics. And yet putting a swastika on a flag, a new flag, like the one that Adrian created, it becomes political. A flag is a political tool. And Adrian knows it's provocative and will upset people, is upsetting people. And he's admitted that that's why he chose to use it. Flags are largely political tools, and that is what his flag is. It is not an ancient flag, not the one he created, or a flag from pre-World War II. It's a new flag. It's a flag Adrian created with other people, apparently. And the second flag also, yes, okay, they're using a symbol, but they got people together to design this, and they decided to use it in this manner. So in my view, it's political. It becomes political. They are raising that flag to send a political message to the government. That's why they're doing it in Ottawa. That's why they did it at the monument. That's why they wanted to do it on Parliament Hill, because it's also about land claims. It's about First Nations issues. It's about Canadian issues. It's about a lot of political things. And this is a political action. It's not just a cultural expression at this point. That's why I also take exception to this. He could have used a Thunderbird symbol and like an actual use of a Thunderbird, like the one that the 45th Regiment used in World War II in the United States. The 45th Regiment was a First Nations or a Native American regiment, and they were using that swastika on their patches, on their uniforms. But because Adolf Hitler was using it, they decided to switch it, and they used a Thunderbird symbol. But instead of using a Thunderbird symbol alone, Adrian and these other people who follow him have decided to use the swastika. He chose to use it because he knew it would be divisive, and he said so. He chose it because he knew it would be offensive even to some people, and he said so. So I've struggled with this because I've tried to find compassion and understanding within myself for Adrian and the suffering he has experienced in his life, for the suffering First Nations peoples have endured. The struggle for me comes from that inner quest for sensitivity. In this case, I must also be sensitive to others, including the Jewish community, those who died in Nazi concentration camps, those veterans who died fighting the Nazis in World War II, their families, First Nations veterans who also made sacrifices during World War II, some of them the ultimate sacrifice. Other groups have had to deal with this issue in the past and even recently. And I just mentioned that 45th Infantry issue resolved by the infantry itself when they decided to use that Thunderbird symbol, the actual Thunderbird symbol. Adrian calls his flag the Thunderbird flag, but it's got the swastika on it. He chose to replace it with this, well, that is why also, and I mentioned this during the broadcast, in 2020, the Finnish Air Force quietly dropped the use of the swastika on its planes as a form of identification. They had always used a blue swastika. They also were using this from the very beginning of the creation of the Air Force. So, they were using it first. Then Hitler comes along, they use it, the Nazis. Well, now finally in 2020, they came to the conclusion, the way the 45th Infantry did, that probably not appropriate to use it. Let's move on from that. But not Adrian. Adrian could have used that Thunderbird symbol, and he chose to use the swastika anyway. In my view, it's a form of distraction. And even though Matthew indicated that Adolf Hitler hates the use of stars, so by putting a star on it, it shows that it's not a Nazi symbol. Honestly, I think you'll find it very difficult to find any documentation indicating that Adolf Hitler had an aversion to the use of stars. I don't think it's out there. And if it's so secret that only knowledge keepers within First Nations peoples on Turtle Island have access to that information, I'm skeptical. I don't think that's actually accurate. And these symbols that are being used are, again, so similar to what was used in Nazi Germany. There's very little differentiation. Adrian is not resurrecting an old flag. He actually went and created a brand new one with a symbol steeped in controversy, darkness, hate, and violence. Using a Nazi, or not, well, I mean, even just a swastika on a new flag today, to create a new flag and use that, just a bad idea, in my view, because it's instantly controversial, instantly divisive. And if you're trying to bring people together, that's probably not the best idea. He put it on a flag because with that flag, he can shove it in the faces of those he opposes. He wants to tear down Canada. He has stated that he wants to sever ties with the monarchy. He wants the Canadian system dismantled. He claims colonialism, maybe rightly so, turned his people into victims, and says white people today are being victimized the same way, conflating his swastika flag with other issues like smart cities and vaccinations. You see, as soon as there's any kind of pushback on the use of the swastika, it gets into these other issues. They distract, they take you on another journey and say, well, what about these problems? Well, I just want to focus on the issue of the flag and the use of that symbol and the way that it is being used. The issue here is the flag and the swastika on it. Those other issues are other issues. You can sit there and say, but we got to deal with the issues unless we deal with the truth, and this is the truth. That's one issue. That's one symbol. There are other ways to bring people together. It doesn't have to be a rallying cry around that. There are other ways that this could have been done and probably should be done. In fact, I'm going to come right out and say it has to be done a different way. This is not going to work. People are not going to rally collectively behind this. Canadians as a society are not going to get behind that symbol. I think back a few years ago, even Fanshawe College in London, Ontario, not far from here, they have a new symbol, a new logo that they had commissioned. And if you look at it, it kind of looks like something like, not even really close. It has sort of a look that's like something out of Nazi Germany. Looks kind of like the swastika, but not really. You really have to squint. And yet that created a huge pushback. They ultimately continued to use it because it really isn't a swastika, but people looked at it and went, wow. And people freak out when they see, even other symbols, whether it's government buildings when photographed from above that are in the shape of a swastika, they go, see, Nazis. And that's just buildings in the shape of a swastika. You look at the gay pride flag, and if you turn it a certain way, we've shown you a bunch of these things where you can make a swastika out of it. And people go, see? And I think maybe there's some truth to that. And people freak out over that. Well, these symbols, it is an actual swastika. He wraps those other issues up with the flag. All these other issues, 15-minute cities, vaccinations, WEF, Klaus Schwab, wraps it all up with the new flags. And then he takes it to Parliament Hill, or gets other people to take it to Parliament Hill, actually, over the weekend on his behalf to confront the government. That's really what it was. And that's fair enough. No issues with, them taking their issues straight to Parliament Hill. It's an appropriate place to do it. But this was done because it was a political statement. Again, it's not just about the culture. They wanted to raise it on the hill, right on Parliament Hill, on the grounds of the capital, on land that may be disputed in a land claim, unceded territory occupied by the Canadian government. This is political. A first step toward pushing the Canadian government out of the people's house, the House of Commons, the house of the common people, the Canadian people. Because they want to tear down the system. That's what it's about, ultimately, right? Adrian said so. Fair enough, man. If that's where your political views fall. And I'm just trying to be sort of neutral about that in this discussion here right now. Keep my personal views on whether the government should be, kicked out and the system dismantled. If that's what you think, that's what you believe, then that's your right to believe that. And you can even push for that and protest and even go to Parliament Hill and raise that flag. These common people that Adrian is now encouraging to follow him, though, he says all Canadians should follow him and get behind his swastika flag because we all need to come together in unity behind his divisive symbol. This is an aberration, another twisted misdirection, in my view, my opinion. And obviously, the people supporting this have another opinion. I respect that. But I think it's a twisted misdirection and is not just misguided, but also, and this is important, it's insensitive. Insensitive because the swastika is hurtful, in particular to Jewish people and to anyone that lost loved ones, family members to the Nazis in World War II. Adrian says it is the government, colonizers, the crown, the king, Canadians who are insensitive. He says, and others too. He says, they say this symbol was stolen and they're taking it back. That Adrian says his people have been prevented from using it. That's not really quite true. Native Americans, First Nations peoples have been using the hooked cross symbol continuously since World War II, after World War II, on craft items, in art, and as a form of cultural expression continuously, but with discretion since World War II, voluntary discretion. It's never been banned. They've never been told they can't use it legally, not for cultural reasons. And where it has been used for cultural reasons, sometimes there has been misunderstanding where people have been corrected, whether it's been, peers used. You can find even stories about this online where the swastika it's been used in native crafts, on quilts, and used in a variety of ways. Controversy erupts, people then understand what it's about, and it passes. And we move on. But in this particular case, it's being slapped on a flag, taken down to Parliament Hill, run up a flagpole, as sending a very clear and aggressive message, honestly, to the federal government. The governments of Canada and the US have never banned its use, as far as I know, by First Nations people, not used in the context of a cultural expression. Indeed, Adrian is using it now freely. They just did. They didn't get arrested. Adrian said they confiscated 30-some flags. Again, maybe a misunderstanding. But we just heard from our guests that no flags were confiscated on Parliament Hill. But even in this case, I think that symbol is being used honestly and appropriately because it is being used for a political purpose and an aggressive purpose. Now, maybe, and this is, I think that's actually the intent, is to use it in an aggressive political way to send a message of war to the federal government. A peaceful war, maybe. That's what they're asserting here tonight, but it's still an affront to the federal government. It's a shot across the bow, right on Parliament Hill. It's inappropriate because he hasn't even tried to differentiate that Nazi swastika by calling it, say, a hooked cross. He calls it a swastika. He could call it a hooked cross, but hasn't done that. And then you steep that in the rhetoric that we heard in that clip that I ran from the interview that we did the other night. And then he is being provocative and adds in that interview where he said it, and I didn't run the clip, but he said the other night that he won't be happy until white people can stand beside him and say with pride, white power. These are cliches that come from neo-Nazi rhetoric. I'm sorry, but it's true. The same with these references to the media being owned and controlled by Jewish people, by the Jews. Adrian says white people have had their tongues cut out by the government. Perhaps to some degree, because of censorship, everyone has had their tongue cut out to some degree or another, mine included, and we're certainly experiencing that online through social media. But what I have experienced is that the same thing from I'm getting the same thing, honestly, from Adrian. And there was even a bit of an attempt here tonight to try and silence me, because anyone who speaks out against the use of that swastika on Adrian's flag is accused of being insensitive. That's what I got. Oh, are you against the clan mothers? Oh, in other words, shut up. That was the message, and that's why I really had to push back a little bit respectfully against what Rose was trying to do there. And I've experienced pushback on a lot of these issues from people that I thought would even be friendlies, where they've tried to get us deplatformed, shut us down, attack us, just because I have a different opinion on some of these issues, and I'm determined to keep things peaceful. Oppose Adrian, and you will be told you are ignorant, uninformed, that you just don't understand, and that he needs to educate you, or you need to get in touch with a knowledge keeper. You don't understand your history. You don't understand First Nations history. You don't know what you're talking about. He knows it's difficult to debate him on this issue, and these other people do too. His supporters know it's hard to debate them, because they hide behind that protective wall of, get this, political correctness that allows Adrian to proceed with this honestly politically incorrect idea and inappropriate politically incorrect use of that symbol through the use of this provocative swastika flag. But they're protected by this wall of political correctness where you're not allowed to criticize them honestly, simply because you're then criticizing a First Nations person. You don't understand their history. You're being insensitive. You have to just let them use it because, it's First Nations. It's native culture. In fact, they're kind of saying that you're racist if you oppose it. It's not an ancient flag, not a flag from the flag itself, not from their culture. It's a new flag using an older symbol. They're recycling it, reusing it, repurposing it for political reasons, not cultural. Now, there may be a cultural component to that. Cultural politics certainly being played out here. And even if you listen to that statement from the clan mothers, they make there's many political phrases in there using words like equity. They make reference to global peace, global use of these symbols. And I'm paraphrasing on that front, but certainly the use of equity came up, and that is something the government advocates for itself. It's not a flag from his culture, a new flag of his own creation that culturally appropriates one of his own symbols for a misdirected political purpose. And I think that is dangerous because it calls out not just to First Nations peoples, but to others who have no business lining up behind a swastika, whether it's straight up and down 90 degrees or turned to the 45. Others who find a message of white victimization appealing. That's who this also appeals to. And Adrian speaks directly to those folks. Others who seek to avail themselves of the same common law, natural law rights guaranteed through treaties to First Nations peoples, rights that were preserved because of alliances forged through wars like the War of 1812 and agreements in the past between First Nations and the people of Canada facilitated through government representation. I'm not First Nations. I'm not a Native American. I don't live on land that is deemed to be a nation state within a nation state, a nation within a nation. Canada is a nation with more than 600 First Nations within it. And all of those people are protected by the treaties that have been established between them and the federal government. And there are a lot of treaties The federal government hasn't done a good job of honoring them all the time, but they exist. And they're getting more teeth put into them these days because I think Canadians collectively as a society recognize that we need to be more respectful of these agreements. But that being said, we still have serious problems. Now, Adrian suggests white people are afraid to speak the truth because the government has taken their tongue. Censorship, yes, it is an issue. Political correctness, it does prevent us from speaking our minds sometimes. But Adrian is the one who seeks to silence dissenters and his followers. I've been on the receiving end of it in a pretty serious way from time to time over the past number of months, simply because I have a different point of view. Unity, that's this cry for unity. With it, there is also, frankly, an unspoken demand for conformity. Now, unity sounds like a great thing, and I can even get behind it to some degree. But what we're also hearing is that if you oppose the use of that swastika, if you don't unify behind it, well, there's no opposition to that allowed. We must all come together. You're not allowed to disagree. I got hammered by the troll army the other night after I had my interview with Adrian, which was very respectful. I mean, I still really like Adrian, and you know, I've got to the point where, I mean, I don't know if he considers me a friend, but I'm very friendly with him, and I would like to think that we could be friends. But, you know, no opposition to this allowed from the people around him. We must all come together. Yet in Adrian's case, I continue to look for solutions, and he admits, as many others within this, whatever is left of this freedom movement thing, they admit they really have no answers. Ultimately, no solutions, just grievances. And that's what we're hearing here tonight, too. Grievances so severe that Adrian says the entire country must be torn down. He wants to sever ties with the monarchy. He wants to save Canada by tearing down the country. I keep hearing that from people over and over again. That in itself makes no sense and leaves the question, what will replace the system once the law itself is, well, once Canada is gone, the Canada that we have, once it's here no more, what do we end up with? In this case, it looks to me like a vacuum. Natural law must prevail, we are told. Natural law, but what does that even mean? Natural law itself is just a concept that does not address the day-to-day needs of the people in 2023. And Matt acknowledged that. What will the speed limit be if the system is torn down? Are you going to get pulled over for speeding? What if you run over a kid doing 100 in a 50 zone? What's the plan for healthcare in a post-Canada country? Who will actually be in charge? Do we even know? Oh, tear it all down, kick the government out. Will we have a democracy or a dictatorship? Adrian said in that clip that I ran, he said so much. He said dictatorships, communism, and I don't remember what the third one was. Oh, National Socialism. He says those were all good ideas until some guy or a-hole came along and screwed them all up. So is that where we're going? A dictatorship or one of those three? I don't know. He didn't say that that's what he wanted, but he said they were good until somebody made them bad. Does anybody have any desire for democracy anymore? Where do we end up? Let's tear it all down. Well, I want to know where we're going. Before we tear it down, shouldn't we at least have a blueprint or have somebody sitting there saying, here's the answer. Let's do this. And then maybe work toward that solution. Maybe if we had the solution first, we wouldn't have to worry about tearing it all down, because maybe everyone would look at it and go, hey, that's a great solution. Let's just work toward that. But everybody wants to seems to just destroy everything, including the government. When I look at what some people say, at the end of the day, what's the plan? Tear it all down. Well, you know, I have to give it to the government on this side, because at least they've had a long-term, decades-long plan to, you know, do all these terrible, awful things to us. But at least they had a plan for where they were going. That's why, honestly, this freedom movement isn't getting any traction, folks. Everybody wants to tear it down. Nobody seems to have a real solution. Not a real one. Yes, we have grievances with the government. We sure do. I do. But who will pave the roads? Who's going to pick up my garbage once a week? If the government's torn down and the system is just ripped apart and we're supposed to build it back out from scratch, who's going to be running the country in the end? Who will assume the power? That's a key question. A lot of turmoil, a lot of chaos out there. But hey, who gets the power in the end? Who's waiting in the wings? Adrian says it's the Canadian flag itself that all people should really be offended by. He says he also takes exception to First Nations artwork, and we heard that again from Rose tonight, recently being added to the Canadian flag by a First Nations artist in an attempt to unify Canadians and First Nations people. Why? Inappropriate? Culturally it's culturally inappropriate. Is this a case again of cultural appropriation? Rose got pretty upset about it. Improper to associate First Nations with the Canadian flag, a symbol to Adrian, to Rose, to many others of oppression, and in their view, genocide. So why then is it appropriate for him to use the ultimate symbol of genocide and hatred on a flag that is meant to represent his people, a brand new flag with no prior history as a flag? Okay, just turn it 90. Now it's not that symbol anymore. Everybody will get it. Just got to explain it to them. Well, that Canadian flag triggers you because it's a sensitive thing for you. The use of that symbol is an issue of sensitivity for people from other cultures and other communities too. And we need to be sensitive to that as well. I'm just trying to present a balanced point of view here and have everybody understand that these issues are not one-sided, and it's not adequate to simply say, nope, I'm right. This piece of history, World War II, just ignore all that. That's not as important as what has happened to us. So we get to use this and recycle it and use it in this way. I'm not alone in my view. I've already given you examples in history and recently, as early as 2020, with the Finnish Air Force, where they've come to the conclusion that I'm presenting here tonight, respectfully. Adrian says the Canadian flag is offensive. He says the Holocaust was not as bad as we were told. He says we have been misinformed. His rhetoric is neo-fascistic. And this kind of talk does not need to come from a white person. You'll find that ideology is in the dark corners of every culture and community these days because it appears to be on the rise and has found its way into the very movement that I have been supporting and trying to preserve, the freedom movement, which Adrian says no longer exists. And I agree with him. It no longer exists in the form that I supported during the Ottawa convoy. Matt acknowledged that tonight as well. I keep hearing it from many people within the movement. I don't even know what the movement really is anymore. It's evolving into something. I would say Adrian is one of these unity revolutionaries. I've used that term before. I respect him, but respectfully disagree with the way he wants to unify people, because this is not a path to unity. I disagree with his flag. I disagree with it because it is impossible for everyone to unite behind it without distorting the truth of history. They say they want truth, then let's have real truth. If that's really what you want. But I think what we're getting here is selective history. And we're finding that they're using misguided justification for the use of the symbol by those also who have no claim to the cultural significance of the swastika as a First Nations cultural treasure. This opens the door for the cultural and political misappropriation of this First Nation swastika. And I've already pointed out examples months ago of people doing exactly that. That the flag is dangerous, bottom line, in the way that it's being used, in the way that it's being presented. Because normalizing the use of the swastika in this political way, diminishes the atrocities that Nazis committed during World War II, because it desensitizes people to it. Adrian doesn't care, though. He only cares about his culture, his political motivations. He does not care about those who are horrified by the very sight of the symbol. He does not care about, honestly, the Jews affected by his actions. He only cares about what he wants. Well, he demands cultural sensitivity for his cause. He rejects the concerns of others and displays, honestly, a terrible level of insensitivity to other communities and people of other cultures, in particular, Jewish people. No, Adrian, I'm sorry, my friend. Jews do not control the media, especially, certainly not in Canada. It's demonstrably not true. I can prove it easily. I worked in mainstream media for 25 years. I know who owned the stations I worked at. And ownership has changed many times over the year. There's been concentration of power within corporations like Bell Media. But no, it's just not true. And that kind of talk is in itself dangerous because it's neo-fascistic. And it leads people to very dark places. As I already indicated in our conversation the other night. It's actually, folks, Adrian who is, and I believe in this case, guilty of cultural misappropriation. He is misusing one of his own cultural symbols. Well-intentioned? Perhaps. Misguided? I think so. He is a political activist who has aligned himself with people outside of his community as well, who aspire to do political things. And this flag is a distraction of sorts. It's also a rallying point. And because people from other cultures, other communities, from within his political movement are being encouraged to get behind it and use it as well, it makes it very, very dangerous. Adrian is still not my enemy. He's not. I just think, folks, that he's misguided. I respect him. I disagree with what he is doing strongly because it is impossible for all Canadians to get behind that flag and his mission. The use of that Native American symbol in this way is also disrespectful. It shows great disrespect, even honestly, inadvertently, for his own people, his own culture, because it is not pure of heart. It is divisive intentionally, and it is born out of darkness, a place of deep, deep anger that seeks, honestly, revenge rather than reconciliation with the Canadian government, and therefore, whether he chooses to acknowledge it or not, also those that the government represents, the Canadian people. And that, folks, is the truth, in my opinion. I'll be back tomorrow night. 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.